I'm gonna get the recording going now so I don't forget later when I just blow into this agenda. So 2-minute countdown, guys. Thanks for being early. We got Destiny with a 6K push goal, Claire with a 1,000 demo goal, the pilot with a 150K goal, Brandon 45K in the Norman office. We got Angel on here with a 10K push goal as well. It's exciting. Jordan, just going through SLDM today. You're in a contest to win some free Cutco. But Mr. Jordan going after a 6K goal. Francois, a 10K goal. I love that. I love when people think big, and regardless of how they come into this, right? The past does not equal the future. Zion going after 10K, my friend. 51 demo spots, baby. Do a lot more than 10K with that. And Daniel Beckman, 10,000 as well, sir. 64 demo spots. I think we should have a little contest, Claire. Zion versus Dan. Little added heat into the
plan. They were talking so much trash last night. Like,
okay.
They already got it going on.
I can feel that. He's dead to me. Frack Zion. All right. I like that. And Maria, I know on here as well. Well, this is fun. You know, this is the time that I look forward to the most because it's that time of year where we built relationships. We've seen each other in person at SC1. We know what not to do, right, from some of the mistakes from SC1. And then we get fired up for SC2, and we really focus on what we do want to do and what will be next. So I'm really looking forward to that, and that is certainly exciting. I'm also excited because lots of familiar faces, right? Lots of people that we know and we've seen before, and we're rolling into this. So it's 3 o'clock. I'm going. It is time. And managers, reach out. If there are DMs or BMs that are not on here, hey, call them out. Also, if there are any of your reps that are going after big pushes, call them out. I know some people can't make it right now because of the timing, but we do have this recorded. We will be sending this out, and we'll be getting rocking and rolling. So let's begin. How's everybody doing today?
Great!
Amazing!
All right, it is SC2 time, baby, the Super Bowl of the Vector world. And my name is Nick Matlack, Division Manager of Great Plains, and I am fired up to have this meeting with you and teach you some goods. We have an action-packed agenda, and I've been waiting to push screen share this entire time so I could share it with you. But I'm so fired up. Today's meeting is going to be different. It's going to be interactive. You're going to be meeting new people, working with them, talking to them. We've got some opening comments. We have a National Programs Manager, John Fiacco, to talk about why we push. We've got a Hall of Fame CSP almost at 3 million in sales to talk about the 10K push mentality. We've also got a breakout talking about 5 reasons and 5 fears. And then, of course, we also are going to have Claire Beckman talk about the 10K prep, tell her story. We've also got more people to see from Ayame. We've got Destiny on here giving her first message, which is going to be awesome. And then, of course, we'll wrap up with 10K push execution, Brandon Cobb, how to master the fundamentals, and Hannah, how to finish strong, before we have Carlton, another Hall of Famer, wrap this thing up with how push will change your life forever. And I know Carlton's had $20,000 and $30,000 push periods before. So you're in the right place at the right time with the right people and the right programs. And let's dive in. It is SC2 push. Why are we here? Well, the number one reason we're here is so that we can grow. We want to kick off the beginning of this push. We want to make sure we focus on our leaders and we really level up, right? Becoming the best versions of ourselves. And with everything we've learned, with all the people we've built, now is the best time to the biggest sales numbers, the biggest paychecks, the biggest personal and professional growth, and the biggest opportunity for your future. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, we are prepared, and this is designed to get us prepared to be exhausted, to push the limits of what we feel is comfortable, to push the limits of what we feel like we're capable of, and then take on a whole nother version of ourselves. And I'm really looking forward to that. So this meeting does not have a lot of opening comments or rah-rah. It's purely just the goods, just the nuts and bolts, and diving right in. I want you to know about something, and that is the 10K Alliance and the 6K Alliance. What does the term alliance mean? Well, really what the alliance is about coming together as a group. This is a unit. This is a cohesive group of people that need to be either all in or all out. There is no in between. You're either all in at this point to making this work, to making this commitment, to going through the 17 days, or you're not, right? And by the way, it's okay if you're not. But I got to tell you right now that being a part of this group allows all of us to thrive more, because we're going to go through 16 days of push. There's going to be 4 great days, 4 good days, 4 okay days, 4 bad days. We don't know what order they're going to come in, but the reality is that all of you have an opportunity that's bigger and better than it's ever been ahead of you. And when I think about this, I look at my calculator, and if you want to do this exercise with me, every morning our routine is going to work like this. 7:30, we're on Zoom. We're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about what we're grateful for and also talking about hot news from yesterday. Not every day will you have hot news, but even if it's not your day, guess what? You're going to be able to share some love and excitement of other people's hot news. Then we're going to go into a personal growth workshop, and we're going to be using a lot of masterclass videos and some inspirational ones off of YouTube. Then we're going to have a public speaker talking about professional growth, teaching wish lists, teaching upgrades, teaching things like how to upsell, and teaching things like how to get a lot more leads. By the time we're done with all that, we'll go ahead and wrap up with some assignments, and we'll dive into phone time right at 8 a.m. Every morning from 8 a.m. to 9:30, we stay on Zoom, we stay on camera, we make a bunch of phone calls, and your challenge is, can you make 30 calls every single day? Because if you can go into push with 10 plus demos and then make 30 calls a day for 16 of these days, you'll make enough phone calls to book another 30. And if you complete 40 demos, that is the real challenge for going after 10K. That is the real challenge for having a great push. It's not so much about, did I sell $10,000? It's, did I put in the effort to be able to do the work to sell $10,000? That's what it's all about. So I want to make sure that you guys are in a position where you're prepared for that. And here's the thing, at 9:30 to 10, you take a 30-minute break, and then you dive into daily demos, and you think about doing a 10 o'clock, doing an 11:30, doing a 1 o'clock, doing a 2:30, doing a 4 o'clock, doing a 5:30, doing a 7 o'clock, and doing an 8:30. That would be 8 demos. So if you want to go to your calculator and type in 8 times 16, what kind of number does that give you? It gives you 128 demos if you chose to do 8 a day every day. 128 demos. And if you haven't thought about the potential that can come from you doing 128 demos, you need to. Because think about this, guys. If you close on 70% of those, which I think you could close more, that would be 90 orders. And that's not including repeat sales. If you had 90 sales, even at a $300 average order, you'd be selling $27,000 worth of Cutco. By the way, what if you had a $400 average order? Well, now you're selling $36,000 worth of Cutco in 16 days. This is a numbers game. I want you to write that down. This is a numbers game, and it's all about doing the right work, putting in the effort, and all about the numbers, right? When you put in the work, the results will come. And ultimately, the way that we crush it, the way that we sold $3.3 million worth of Cutco last week is because we put it in front of a lot of people. Yes? We know that Cutco is an amazing product. We know that people can afford it. We know that people are going to buy it. But what we need to know is, will we put it in front of enough people? And I have an announcement to make. I broke down our numbers yesterday with all 8 of our offices in the Great Plains Division, state of Oklahoma and Northwest Arkansas. And you don't want to know what came up? What came up was a total push goal of $515,000. I want you to raise your hand if you'd be fired up to be a part of a group that sells $500,000 in the matter of 16 days. Anybody down to do that? $500,000? Not to mention sharing the income that would come off of that, sharing the referrals that would come after that, sharing the promotions, the confidence, right? Oh my gosh, this is where the real year begins. And the second half is always better than the first half of the year, without a doubt. We are going into the state fair season, events team season. There's no better time to be selling Cutco than right now. And what you're going to learn today is going to be some phenomenal stuff. So here's the deal. The 80-20 rule is always in effect, and we know that 80% of our sales come from our top 20% of our people. If you're on this meeting code right now, and if you've been invited to this meeting, you are a part of that top 20%. So what's 80% of 515 grand? Like $400,000. So this group is responsible for more of those sales than anyone else. Does that make sense? And I know there are people on here right now that aren't even at a couple promotions, but you're still thinking big about 6 and 10K. And for that, I got to honor you. For everybody else, guys, here's the thing. Having your best push ever. I was talking to Dan Beckman today. Never sold an Ultimate, never sold a cookware, never sold a Cutco kitchen. He's like, that's what push is about for me. It's about getting your first. It's about stretching your comfort zone and doing things you've never done before. You know, I've learned in life that if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And if you keep going at the rate you're going, you're probably not going to be around with Vector too long. But you know what? One push period, 1 2-week competition could mean the next 2 years of success and stability in your life. And what if the effort that you put into this competition meant that you weren't worried about success, you weren't worried about money here for the next couple of years? If that was true, how much more would you commit to this? So what we are here to do is to give you the tools and the resources to really step up and really to go all out. But like I said, you're either all in or you're all out. There is no in between. If you're going to be a part of this alliance, if you're going to be a part of this group, we expect that you do everything in your power to go all in with it every single day you can. So I'm going to share our contract with you right now. And this is something that I will email out. I will post to the chat box, but here it is. I am committed to the effort it will take to complete 40 plus appointments during the push. I will help rally and support other alliance members so that we can all achieve more during this push than we would without each other's support and encouragement. I will do what it takes to achieve my goal. I will strive to complete 4+ appointments every day during push, with the possible exception of Sundays if I choose to take that as a call day. I recognize that by doing 40 or more appointments during the push, I'm choosing a path that will give me a realistic chance at $10,000. I will show up to all the phone jams with a focus of 150 plus names to call. I will not leave a phone jam until I reach my goal of 4+ appointments for the day. I will organize all my leads before the call days. I'll participate in the call days. I will have the recommendations approach and closing approach memorized before the start of the push. I will attend the daily alliance meetings, right, that start at 7:30 and end at 9:30. I will be punctual, and I will show up with the expectation to book and complete immediate same-day appointments. I will call the office after every appointment during the push. I recognize that my results will inspire the rest of the team, and I also realize that I will sometimes have to force myself to get the encouragement I need when I need it most. I will be totally accountable to my office. If I struggle with adversity, I will talk to my manager to guide me through the process. I will commit. Don't blank them out to a front row or a charity. You don't have to do that, but that's another one that people have done. And I will work all the way through the push and will stay focused on my goal. I'm fully committed for 17 days. I realize that it's about the journey and the process and not necessarily the destination or the results. Representative signature. So I hope that you understand this is not a contract that's signed in blood that you have to sell $10,000 or $6,000, is it? It's a contract that you're going to put in the effort necessary to go after reaching that goal and making that happen. And that's what this is really all about today. Cool? So thank you guys for being here. I'm fired up for this. This is one of my favorite meetings of the entire year. It's one of my favorite contests of the entire year. Let's kick this thing off. We've got our first guest on the agenda, Mr. John Fiacco, a Hall of Fame district manager working out of the Northeast area of the United States. And John has been a veteran for over a decade in this business, probably a lot longer than that. And I've gotten to know John really well. He's a really great person because he is able to be one of the best listeners I know. He's got an incredible personality that is energetic and eager to help and coach. He doesn't throw his judgments and his opinions around without asking for it. And one of the things I love is that because of his hard work in the field and over $10 million in management sales, he earned the position to work for corporate, which is a very exclusive and rare thing in our company. And when I was thinking about our division, I thought that his expertise would be an excellent way for us to push this, to kick this off. We've never had John on one of these alliance agendas before. I'm not even sure how many John's been on around the nation, but he said, I got a great message that I can put together all about why we push and the benefits, not just short-term, but long-term. He now is working as the National Recruiting and Training Coordinator Manager. I think I screwed that up. It's a mouthful. Basically, he's got an incredible position helping multiple managers all throughout the nation help with their recruiting, help with their training, and help with their guidance when it comes to brand new representatives. And he offered up 20 minutes of his time today to come on in and teach us some great stuff. So, John, thank you so much for your time. I know there are a lot of people that need your time and utilize your time, and we are grateful that you're willing to give some of it to us. So we're fired up for 20 minutes about why we push the short-term and the long-term effects. If you guys want to unmute yourself so we can make it feel like a real conference and put your hands together, let's give Mr. John Fiacco a big round of applause.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very, very much. I spoke with the staff yesterday, the DM and BM staff yesterday, and I recognize a few of you here today. I'm kind of going where you guys are at. Claire, I know Zion was there, JJ, where's Brandon and Zach? Zach, we're gonna work on his camera. I love Zach, but we're gonna work on how to press on his camera. Still love you. So for the staff yesterday, in what Nick had asked me to do is to teach you or to talk to you is what I would like to do about the 6 to 10K Alliance. Just so you know, full disclosure, I've never sold $10,000 for a push. Just so you know, I've never sold $6,000 for a push. However, I've been around for 17 years, worked with hundreds to thousands of people, and in my most recent years, observed 200, 300 managers in their own environment. And I've realized what it takes to do really, really well and what it takes to just swing and miss and not even be in the right stadium. Like you're swinging in one stadium and the ball is pitched in the other stadium. So the veterans who I spoke to yesterday, the Claire, the Zion, the JJ, I gave a message to you yesterday, and there were some great head nods and there was some good feedback about commitment and about tie-in. For the first part of this, I would love for you to share with the 6 to 10K Alliance. Mine, I don't see 6 or 10K, I see committed. And I know that you're committed to be here. You're committed to be on a call. A number does not define you. I do solely believe in a goal though. So where I see Destiny, Destiny Bedlock, hey, you have 6K next to your name. That's, yeah, hey, that's what I'm going for. Whether you sell 5, 999, 999, you know, or you sell 6, 001, like I'm not going to think, and Nick's not going to think of you any more or any less than if you put your best effort into it. And I hope you know that, like you're already significant by just being here today and making the commitment. Now, we don't go out and have a goal of 10K, like, is it Angel Maggers or Moggers?
It's majors, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, majors.
Okay.
It's a soft year. And Angel's like, hey, I worked hard for 14 days and I sold $600. Like I gave it my best effort, because it's like, we know that if you did give your best effort, you would theoretically sell more than 600. And it doesn't mean that we like you any less. It's just a matter of like, you'll know at the end if you put that stamp of approval on. So Claire, I think of somebody who, you know, is a leader. And although we've never had that one-on-one, you're around, you're committed. You're a person who I would look at and say, you know what, this is a leader here. Zion and then JJ, you're on deck. Could you just please share 1 to 2 to 3 things, not to necessarily limit or to box you in on the quantity, but from the message that you gave yesterday that really helped you to understand, here's what I'm going to do to be a little bit more committed. Here's what I'm going to do to be a little bit more tied in. Here's what I can do to actually be a better leader, better manager, better person in general. I don't want to like put you on the spot, so to say, which I kind of am, but you're a leader. So from yesterday, was there anything that you could share now with the group around you that helped and it inspired or just, you know, triggered some things for you?
Well, one of the big ones for me that you said, John, was a lot with just the importance of having the relationship and trust with our representatives. And that can be, you know, the same way on the other side with just how important communication is and how the tie-in and the daily buy-in is so important. And I think that's really applicable to what push is going to be for everyone, is having that constant daily buy-in and reminding yourself of, you know, why you started in the first place. So when you have a bad day, to have that conversation with me or whoever your manager is going to be a big component on why you hit your goals, because you can talk to us and have that trust with us that we're going to help you get there.
There were so many little nuggets within that. To reiterate, trust. Like if we could just have trust with everyone, imagine what our world would look like, let alone a business. If there was trust amongst people, right? But think of trust as a super big byproduct. And what I heard Claire say is that, hey, open communication, but she also used another word, daily. Wow, I wonder or wish we had a program called something where we could communicate daily with our management staff that could maybe help and or inspire, right? PDI, you know, and that's a way that we have a program for you. And by the way, your managers need just as much help and support with accountability than you do. And that's not to put anyone down. That's why we're here as a business, is to lock arms. So when you have a communication, when you're calling in, that's not just helping the manager, that's helping you, that's helping everyone. So that open communication daily, huge. Also the buy-in daily. Believe it or not, at my age, right? I'm not an 18-year-old representative anymore. Nick, well into his adulthood, not too old, just you know, just really, really good. He's marinating. He's got some children. He's got the lifestyle going on. I don't want to speak for Nick, but I have to recommit on some cases daily. Can anyone say that you've committed once in your life to one thing and you've never had to recommit? When you realize that it's a daily commitment, heck, how many times you go out with somebody and you're like, this person's a moron, right? And you had to like recommit while you're going out with them. And then you realize that actually I was just in the funk. That person's not a moron, it's just me. But when you have that recommitment, it really helps you out to see something bigger and stronger, because what we're doing here is we're building a relationship. And this is not a relationship around CPO. This is a relationship about getting one place to the next. And if it's commitment, it's trust, it's relationships, it's frequently communication, Claire nailed it. Zion and then JJ on deck. Thank you, Claire.
All right, sounds good. Well, I guess I could go. So one big thing that stood up to me yesterday was when you talked about making our business like chicken noodle soup. And yeah, I know it's so easy kind of like with everything going on to make it, or think it's really complicated, but by just doing the simple things like chicken noodle soup, it's just a few ingredients. You got chicken, noodles, some broth, and some like salt maybe. Like that's about it. And so making the business like that, I think going in the mindset with that as well to the push, you can kind of place everything, but not getting like overwhelmed, but just doing the simple things like phoning and communication, and just those simple things right there is going to help a ton into this push.
Zion, I love your takeaway of simplicity. I really do believe that people look to overcomplicate the simplest of tasks. And I think that that comes from, only my opinion, right? I think that that comes from where people aren't upfront with other people. Like, how many times you've been in a conversation where somebody didn't give you the full amount of information and then you're left guessing? I can say that when Nick Matlack speaks, he's giving you the full information. Like, I don't think he's hiding behind certain things, or you get off the call and you're like, Jordan's like, did Nick mean that? Like, I'm not 100% sure what he meant. No, I meant 100% that. Like, Daniel, you're not gonna have to guess when Claire speaks exactly what Claire means, so on and so forth. The simplicity is, by the way, you even added an ingredient, Zion. It is chicken noodle and broth. Some want to add salt, some don't. Some want to do garlic powder, some don't. Some want to do paprika, some don't. But the idea is that it's chicken noodle and it's soup, it's broth. So in your business, okay, it is a matter of, I'm making phone calls to people, I'm doing demos for people, and I'm getting recommendations from people. Now, where that all goes into play is your schedule. How you make this position like chicken noodle soup is having a schedule. And I know Rod Steiner is going to come on after and speak. And if he's talking about a schedule, I don't want to step on his toes too much, but I thought it'd be very valuable to say, hey, in order to sell 10K, in order to sell 5K, in order to be a functioning human being, having a schedule is like having a recipe. See, chicken noodle soup is pretty easy. You just have to remember those three things, but not everything's chicken noodle soup. And instead of trying to remember what you need to do, you pick up your recipe and say, here's steps 1 through 10. And your schedule is your recipe, and how well you follow your schedule. Not a smidge here and a taste there. It is a cup here and a teaspoon there, and you follow it precisely. So if you ever have to ask yourself, if Maria says, hey, I made 12 phone calls, isn't that good enough? Maria, you already know that it's not, because you went in with the expectations of making 20, and you want to uphold that commitment that you originally went in with. So Zion, to your point, commitment, simplicity, following through, and it's just doing what you say that you're going to do. That's what you get in life, is by following through with those simple little things, not easy. Lastly, JJ, wrap it up for me, man.
All right. My biggest takeaway was definitely the chicken noodle soup thing and the simplicity. But for the sake of picking something different, another really big thing that I really enjoyed that you talked about was you asked us what we think the perfect representative looks like. And so you had us list out the different qualities that we had. So like for mine, I had things like reliable, loyal, communicative, competitive, just things along those lines. And then after you had us write it out, you asked us how many of those do we feel like we embody ourselves. So it's like we have this idea of what we would want the ideal representative to look like, but then we also had to look in the mirror and say, am I even doing those myself right now?
Awesome. JJ, I appreciate that, because it's kind of a spin on today, where if I were to ask the representatives on here, you know, the ones that are on this, the call here, and I would say, hey, representatives, if you were to take the next 30 seconds and you were to write down the perfect manager, what he or she would be. Not, I made the joke yesterday, so bear with me second time around. 6'6", brown eyes. You know, we're not looking for that perfect manager. We're looking for what character traits would your manager embody. I want somebody who is blank. I want a manager to be blank. I want a manager to do this. And just take 10, 15, 20 seconds, kind of think about it, jot it down. Hey, I want somebody who's going to be honest with me. You know, I want a manager who's going to be on time. I would love a manager who listens to me. I love a manager who's inspiring. I love a manager who holds me accountable. By the way, holding accountable, people actually need, they may not like, but they need. People love accountability on the front end. Oh, I just want somebody to hold me accountable. I know I'm lazy. And then people love talking about accountability from the past, where it's like, oh, back in the day when JJ like totally ripped me for not being on time, like that made me better. But nobody likes accountability in the present. You know, nobody likes being told what they're not doing. So for those of you who wrote that down, looking at that list of what you wrote down about what a perfect manager would be, my question to you is, how many of those things are you doing? So if you want a manager who listens to you, do you listen and embody listening the way that you'd want somebody to listen to you? You want a manager who's going to be super awesome to work with, inspiring and fun. Are you super awesome to work with? Are you inspiring and fun? Because all those things don't take a lot of training. They just take time. And I believe all of you could do those things. So thank you for the management staff to share that. That's really great. What does it take to do 10K? What does it take to do 6K? Let's say the easy word is commitment, right? But if you were to break down commitment into two categories, it would be time and it would be effort. If you apply the proper amount of time and the proper amount of effort, those two things are going to take care of itself. You can throw in words like consistency. Zion's simplicity. What is the push to you? What is this? If I were to call you up singularly and say, hey, just out of curiosity, what's your definition of the push? Like, what does this actually mean? I know you heard a lot of things. What is this push to you? What is the definition? What are the expectations? I would love for you to share the next time you have a conversation with your manager, staff, DM, with Nick, right? And share what the expectation of this push is. Like, what does the push mean if you were to define it? Well, it's a sales competition. I've got to like make calls for a couple of weeks and yada, yada, yada. Like, that's cool. That'll get you through it. That'll make you some sales and definitely get you a paycheck. But when you can tighten that up, when you can really, you know, hammer in and or just tighten up a little bit, man, this could be a work opportunity, increase work ethic, establish yourself as an adult, create financial stability. This, in fact, these 2 weeks could teach me more about myself for the next 15 years of my life. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people that are between 18 and 24 that aren't working in this business or a business like this aren't going to look back in their 18 to 24 range and say, I pushed myself. And with that push, get equaling rewards. I hustled on the farm growing up. I threw as many hay bales as I could, or mowed as many lawns as I could. I got $5 an hour under the table for every hour that I worked. Some people say, why even work? I'll figure that out later. So for those of you on this call who are going to go to a 6 or to a 10K push, again, I'm not looking so much at the 6 or 10K. What I'm looking at is at your commitment to that. So when you can look back saying to a future manager, right, when you're interviewing at an upcoming position after college, or if you're being interviewed for a district manager position here, you can say, I understand the ingredients of success. It comes through commitment. Commitment comes through time and through effort. And what I can bring is the consistency of those things. And you boil it down to what it really is. I'm making it sound much more simplified than what it really is because there's hangups. I mean, God Almighty, how many times I wanted to egg a customer's house after I like got a no sale or they like didn't answer. It's like, I'm going to drive there. I'm going to egg that person's house. Well, I never did, just so you guys know. That's why I got a job with our corporate headquarters, because I didn't egg houses. But what I'm telling you is that the frustrations do arise. And when you can lean into that frustration, when you can have a community group of people and say, man, I'm really having kind of a rough one. I just had 3 no sales in a row. I had 4 customers cancel for the next 3 days. I'm really unsure about where I'm at. That is totally natural. It's called being a human being. And when you can speak up, right? The difference between a vent and the difference between a progression forward is a vent is complaining. A vent is just kind of letting people know how you're feeling, but with no real push to want to get better. But when you have a complaint, you're able to vocalize and singularly narrow down what it is. You get it off of your chest, you create space, and then you make room for good stuff. And that's the differences between doing a push and driving the bus. Well, I'm going to go to the library and read through a book and hopefully I can get a good grade on my test and, maybe pass college. Or I'm studying to get my degree from a university to do what half of the country, 10% of the country would ever get a chance to do. Hey, I'm making phone calls. I can't go to the beach today. I'm making phone calls. No, like I'm producing a life for my future family. It might seem kind of extreme that I'm 19, 20, 21 now, but what you do, if you can see past the immediate action, you will see the gold on the other side. People get caught though in the immediate actions. They get caught on going on a Zoom call. They get caught on making phone calls. They get caught on doing demos. They get caught on Zoom. By the way, yeah, you can't get by that. That's what you're doing immediately. But when you can see the gold on the other side is that those activities will produce for you longevity. I'll end with this. Act as if. And I want you to act as if you're going to be in this business for the next 30 years. Please hear me right. Not everyone will be here in the next 30 years. Some of you, this legit may be a part-time position and you are out within the next 2 months. And I bid you a very, very good farewell and best of luck in the future. But for those next 2 weeks, I ask you, I encourage you, I invite you to act as if you're going to be here for 30 years. Because one, you actually never know where you're going to be in 30 years. This was a summertime job for me for 2 months to go to my internship at the hospital. I had never committed to anything past the 2 months. 17 years later, I'm in a corporate office. Nick, by a show of hands, when you first took this position, did you think that you were going to be here to this amount of time when you first took this position? Claire,
10 days.
What about yourself? 10 days. Claire, what about yourself?
Can you say the question one more time?
Did you think that you were going to be here today when you first interviewed for your company?
No, I was only trying it out for 2 weeks because I said I was going to suck.
Right. My leaving point to you is act as if, and this is not to scare you, but this is to build your commitment. When you act as if you're going to live in the house for the next 30 years, you will treat your house totally different. When you act as if you're going to stay there for a semester, you'll throw things on the ground, you'll bump the thing and won't fix it, you won't screw those things in. But when you act as if you're going to live there for 30 years, you give it the respect that it deserves. And that's what this position deserves, is your respect. And the respect comes from longevity. So if and when you are done at the end of the summertime, crush, enjoy, have fun. But you know who also deserves that? The customers. You joined a position for customer sales and service. The customers deserve the absolute best treatment because it's the best product. So if you're offering your best, you're doing great. The customers are getting their best from you, and then they also receive a product that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. So when you act as if, the little things along the way don't seem as big. It's kind of like a bug off of the windshield. But when you only say, I'm going to give it one more week, or I'm going to give it one more no sale, boy, it's like a brick through your windshield. But when you have a longer term commitment, it's a bug off the windshield. So I'm proud of you for those of you who are stepping up to do work. I'm proud of you for what you've done to get to where you are. And I'm really excited about where you're going to go to with a little bit of hard work and a little bit of time. Nick, I appreciate you for having me on. My time is up, and whatever I can do, please let me know in the future.
Let's give him a big round of applause. Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate it. And some phenomenal tips. I love your message. And so simple. Are you willing to do what others won't today so you can have what others can't tomorrow? I know there's many different versions of that saying, but so powerful. And, you know, I love the act as if, because you just never know. So what's the harm done and tried? So great stuff. And man, I only wish we could invite you out to our conference. If you'd like to come, we'll buy you a last minute flight, and you can come on over to SC2 in person if you'd like. So
you can shoot a text to Johnny Kane and say, hey, are we doing in persons? And that wouldn't hurt, but
I really think that John needs to come to GPD. I really think so, John Kane.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, guys, if you want to go to the chat box as we transition and maybe pick one word about how that message made you feel to kick off the meeting today, that would be fantastic. And John, you are more than welcome to stick around for as much as you'd like. And if you need a PC, I'll be happy to coach you on how to sell 6,000 and 10,000 for a push, because I have before, and I'll help you out there. So
I love it. I do have a Ryan Saplee call who he said to say hello to you. I have his call right now. And thank you, Rob. I took 1.5 minutes of your time. So I appreciate it, brother.
All right. Awesome. Well, great stuff. I see committed. I see motivated. I see convicted. So powerful. And we're going to pivot and go over to Mr. Steiner. The Rob that I met all the way back a few years into the business, and I was a district manager in Albuquerque. He actually had come out to field train with one of my top reps at 50K named Misha, and he was able to get some coaching, get some help with her. He also taught her, and at the time, I never thought I'd really see him again because he was living up in Michigan. And then just like John said, things you just never know how they were going to work out. I moved out here to OKC. He met a girl in Tulsa that lived in Tulsa. They got together, and the rest is history. He transferred down here, and now he is the #1 career sales rep in the entire division, closing in, I believe, on $3 million. I believe just eclipsed over 2.8 million. And this is somebody who just always impresses me. Such an incredible work ethic, such an incredible grind. He is the #1 rep for this year right now in our division. He's eclipsed, I believe, coming up now on 160,000. I'm not even sure. I can't really keep up. It's big numbers. And he makes, you can say it with me, what? Half, baby. So I don't want to take any more of his time, but he has had multiple 10K pushes, 20K pushes. Right now, he has been very consistent. In fact, he just completed 52 weeks in a row, over $1,000 in sales, and already has a few orders for this week as well. So I'm really excited about his message, and he hasn't been available for a lot of our meetings, so we're finally getting him on the agenda. And Rob, we're recording right now, but the floor is yours. Take as much time as you need. If you need 15, give it your all, and we'll wrap after that into our breakouts. So take it away, sir.
Cool. And I'm at 198 right now for the year. So
can't even keep up. Closing in on 200 grand, even better.
Yep. So Nick wanted me to talk to you guys about having a 10K push, because I treat this as it is my full-time job, and 10K doesn't faze me. It doesn't scare me. And a lot of newer reps, especially when I was new, feel that the number is so huge, so insurmountable. You're at 136K, and you're like, how do I do my whole career again in 2 weeks, if not more? But out of my last 52 weeks, 17 of them have been over 10K. And I've had 2 or 3 in the 9K range as well. So I'm here to teach you guys today kind of the mindset of how to break things down, how to work this, how to make the systems work for you. Kind of like what John was talking about, of having your schedule, having the phone time, and committing to the work. So the biggest key first is breaking it down to ridiculousness. So you have to set your schedule, and you want to put everything into it. If you have summer classes, if you have meetings to attend, you want to put your phone times in. You want to put, when are you eating? Because a lot of people will forget to eat when they're running around all day. Are you going to the gym? Have that in your schedule. Whatever is important to you, put that into your schedule, and then put all of your appointments in around those. Based on the office averages, according to Venture Connect, the office average currently is 353. That is 29 sales to get 10K for the push. With, I'm not sure on the exact averages right now for new reps, but when I started, it was 60% of your appointments you'll sell on. So it's using a 60% closing ratio. You need 48 demos scheduled. And if you just have just 10% scheduling right on the phone, every 10 people you talk to, you'll schedule 1 at 480 calls in 2 weeks. Not a big deal. So one big thing also is that if you have demos canceled, if you have an appointment slot that doesn't get filled, don't treat that as time off. You were planning on working that time anyway. So that just becomes extra phone time to make sure the rest of your schedule is full. So, side note on organization is for your leads. Always have your leads organized, sort them real quick by city, so that way you can all stay in one area and you're not going all over the place. I know a lot of you have virtual ones, so cities might not matter. In person, you want to make sure it's local so you're not wasting extra time driving. And big thing that a lot of reps used to do is they'll have all their leads on these little sheets of paper, and it's kind of scattered all around. They're doing phone time. They'll pick up a piece of paper, look at it, be like, I don't know like that name. I don't want to call that one. Just kind of put it all off. Don't prejudge people based on what city they're in, who referred them, what their name is. Literally start at the top and just start calling through it. It's much more efficient for you and saves a ton of time and energy. So I also did want to mention that I don't know if Nick is doing this for the office, but when I went after my first big pushes, I used to be doing 10K, 15K, and I was kind of like, I'm just kind of doing my thing. I'm just working. And I realized that my annual sales were very limited in that because I wasn't having those pops for a couple push weeks throughout the year. And I wanted to go after a $30,000 push. And so the weekend leading into the push, Saturday, I made 100 phone calls, booked up 5 whole appointments from that. Very exciting. Second day on Sunday was an all-day call day for me. I made 215 calls that day. I scheduled my first appointment on call number 82. Scheduled my second appointment on a call 103. And it would have been really easy to just be like, these calls, this time, I'm just wasting my time. This sucks. I hate what I'm doing, and just kind of give up at that point. Because 100 was really what they were expecting people to make that day. But by continuing out, I scheduled 17 appointments that day for my push. So 22 appointments going into the first week definitely set me up where I could do a couple phone calls a day, like 20 in the morning, 20 in the evening, just knock them out and keep my schedule full and rolling. If I have that many ahead of me, if someone cancels, do you think I feel really bad about like, oh my God, I have nothing else set ahead of me now? It's like, cool, this one I can fill up the rest of my week because I had 3 openings tomorrow. I didn't know I was gonna be able to fill, and go with it. Also, there is no bad phone time. People are up in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock, getting kids ready for summer school things, getting to daycare, whatever. People are up and moving. Evenings, anywhere from 6 to 9. Cool, they're home from work, they finished dinner, they're hanging out. If you want to do daytime demos, make daytime phone calls. If they pick up, that's probably time when they're going to be available for you to schedule with them. So, and I know some of you have like a significant other or parents that are like, oh my God, we're not going to get to see you for 2 or 3 weeks. This is terrible. Tie them into your goal. Let them know why it's important to you. So have a payoff with them. Significant other, be like, hey, when I hit my 10K for these 2 weeks, I'm going to make X amount and we can go on a fancy date night dinner somewhere, or we can go spend a day at the zoo, whatever. Something that they're excited to do with you that'll tie them in and help them encouraging you. Also along those lines, make sure you share your goals with the people in your life. And hey, it might be, I can't go to the movies this week. I can't go to the beach, whatever. When you really push yourself and figure out what you can do with this job and what you're capable of, it opens up a lot of mentality for you for the future. So share your goals with friends and family, with all your customers, tie them in. I'm working on making Australia cheaper for myself this year, and I want to stay in the top tier of the Silver Cup race. And I've had customers buy extra stuff just because I shared what I'm working on this year. And they get really geeked about it, and let them know how it ended after the push. They love to hear about how did you do? Oh, all my customers, hey, here's a quick email to them or a text. I just want to thank you again for doing an appointment with me. I ended up at whatever. It's a great way to keep that rapport and make you more tied in with them, and them more likely to come back to you in the future when they want to add on stuff. So that is my main focus for you guys. I did give a couple minutes for Q&A, and then I got to bounce in about 2 or 3 minutes to run to an appointment. So
Great stuff. I love it. Anybody have any questions for Rob while we have him on real quick? Rob, how do you, my question would be when you're frustrated, I know that we all have upsets and disappointments. When you're frustrated, when you're upset, when you don't feel like, making phone calls because the third appointment rescheduled for the day, or you just made 60 calls and nobody answered, what do you do to reset yourself and to stay focused?
usually I take about 3 to 5 minutes and just kind of play a game, pet the cats, go for a quick walk outside, just something where it's change where my mental state is. If I'm focused on work, take a quick mental break and just break that pattern that I'm in. And then I can come back and just be like, all right, I'm going to do this. Let's go. It's really just willpower at this point.
Okay.
And dedication. Be like, I know I can do this. So let's go.
Yeah. So it sounds like shifting your mindset and just focusing on being present and being where you want to be. And just
Yep.
give yourself a little bit of permission to not take yourself so seriously and relax, smile, have a little bit of fun. And then just, you realize that, it's the effort will equal the results, even if it doesn't come in the timeline we think. So I love it.
Correct.
All right. Well, guys, if you want to take yourself off mute as usual as we wrap up one of these meetings, give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Rob Steiner. $2.8 million. It's so simple. And I think that a lot of times, our emotions get the best of us, and it's very easy to overthink things when they can be a lot more simple than we thought. So love it. All right, guys. Well, I just removed the spotlight. What we're going to do is go to breakouts for about the next 15 minutes. I want to be very clear what this is not. This is not discussion time. This is not like a hangout time. This is time for you to basically have about 5 minutes each to share 2 things. And number one, right, what I would do is take about 3 to 5 minutes to think through this. In fact, we're going to do this as a group, so I'll throw on some light music. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and spend 5 minutes thinking about this, and then 10 minutes where we're going to go in groups of 2, and you and your partner are going to be able to share back and forth, and we'll be able to share what are your 5 biggest reasons for going after push. So let's work on that for a couple minutes now. And I want you to put that down. Managers, this is not time off. This is not, hey, what's the thing I need to get done during this? This is, you should figure this out too. What are the 5 biggest reasons that you're going after your push goal? And if you need some help with that, here's some thoughts. What are the biggest reasons personally? Who you're going to become? How you're going to grow? What your resume is going to look like? The skills you're going to gain, the confidence, the communication, the time management, right? Maybe a lot of those are all compartmentalized under the umbrella of just experience. Another layer, if you need some other ideas, would be on a professional way and a professional level. What's it going to do for you? For a lot of you, you would not just hit your next promotion, you would hit your next 2 or 3 promotions. In a professional sense, what does that do for your qualification level to be an assistant manager or to be eligible and invited to Leadership Academy? Once again, by the end of August, if you want to be on our entrepreneurship course to become a 5-star recruit, learn how to manage your time, your money, your energy, your emotions, and other people, you need to be over $6,000 in sales and $500 in savings, right? Those are our standards. In a professional sense, getting to Dirty 30. Let me remind you, on August 10th, we're going to Tahlequah and having a great river float. It's going to be a lot of fun. I also want you to think about $15,000. Makes you eligible for the events team training that we'll have at the beginning of August as well. We only have that a couple times a year. JG will be talking about that later. $20,000 to work. In a professional sense, what does it do for you to go into school making 30%? And you think about the vibes that come from that, going to school at 30%, you're doing 5 demos a week, selling $1,000, making $300. That's pretty cool. In a professional sense, what does that do for your resume, for landing your dream job, for being able to have a story that you're proud of, that you want to tell for a long time? And another category would be financially. How much money are you going to make? You know, I think anybody in the world can think about worst case scenario. Most people do. But I think it takes a mindset of a champion to focus on best case scenario. Have you thought about that? What happens if you actually book all your demo spots? What happens if you actually show up? By the way, here's a fun challenge. What happens if you have 100% closing? No more no sales. I would jot that down. That's going to be like our divisional chant every morning. No more no sales. No more no sales, right? Like that's going to be it. Yeah, Zion, I saw you getting into that. No more no sales. Are you freaking kidding me? Why would they not buy anything? If you're great at sharing your goals, everybody can afford something. If your client honestly can't afford something that Cutco makes with things that cost $20, then you chose the wrong client. That's not the reason they're not buying. It's not. It's not because they literally don't have the money for it. They've got the money. Everybody's got the money. You could buy some Cutco if you wanted to, right? The reason is something else. So if we really show up, sharing our goals, enrolling our clients, doing the best demo, dropping down through everything, no more no sales. And I firmly believe that every kitchen needs Cutco. With 100 different items we make, come on, buy a trimmer on a toupee for $40. Ms. Jones, if you're not completely satisfied it's the best knife you've ever used, then I will personally buy it back from you and you can keep it. Now, I'm not saying you have to say that, but you have that kind of confidence, likelihood of them, right, at least taking your word for it is higher, isn't it? So we're going to go to a breakout and we're going to talk about what are the 5 reasons that you really want this. And the second thing we're going to write down is what are the 5 fears? What are your 5 biggest fears about this push? Is it a fear of not having enough leads? Is it a fear of not, right, having the support from family and friends? Is it the fear that people won't buy that much Cutco from you, that they can't afford it? That might be your fear. So we're going to go to breakouts, groups of 2. You'll have 5 minutes apiece, and you're going to each share what your 5 biggest reasons are for going after your push. And then you're going to share your 5 biggest fears. Cool? So whoever wants to go first, go ahead. Take your 4 to 5 minutes of sharing your 10 items, 5 reasons and 5 fears, and then pass the baton to your partner. They will have the time to do that as well. Whoever your partner is, hey, I would definitely recommend getting their name, getting their number by the end so you can build a relationship with them and have some accountability partners as you move forward. I'll be bouncing around, listening in and things like that as we move forward, and then we will go from there. Does that sound good to everybody? All right. Excellent. Well, on your mark, get set. Go meet some people, have some fun. I'll see you at 4 o'clock. All right. For those of you watching the recording, highly recommend writing those down and maybe typing them out and texting your manager so they know what those are. We'll see you in a sec.
Progress.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are here. All right, look at all the screens. I love this. Who met somebody cool? Anybody meet somebody cool? Who found out that your fears are not so uncommon? Like other people share the same fears that you share, right? Who had some similar goals or reasons or fears? Yeah, pretty awesome. So, by the way, what makes this so unique and what makes us an alliance is that we come together and we share. We're real, we're raw, we're authentic. And I think that it's so necessary for you to be as honest as you can be. Because if you're not being direct and honest about how you're feeling, your manager can't really enter your world. They can't really meet you where you're at to help you get unstuck and get you moving forward. So great stuff. And I would encourage you to take those 5 reasons and 5 fears and elaborate on them. I would even encourage you also to type them up or write them out and then hang them right behind your computer on the wall so that you can constantly look at them, right? But remember this really powerful quote: when your why has heart, your how grows legs. When your why has heart, your how grows legs. Does that make sense? So if you really think about the heart behind the reasons this is important to you, you're going to figure out a way to get it. And a simplified version of that is something I know Brandon really loves, and that is, right, that if you want something bad enough, you're typically going to find a way, right? And if you don't, you're probably going to make an excuse. So really love kind of those quotes and thoughts as we move forward. You know, if you look at our agenda, we have it broken down into 3 parts. Number 1, what do you want? We've kind of discussed that. Number 2, why do you want it? And number 3, how are you going to get it? And we are into the second compartment of what we're talking about, which is why do you want it? And there's nobody better to talk about the whys behind a push, to get ready for a push, to get prepared for push, than our very own Claire Beckman. Claire being a 5-year veteran with our company now, starting out of Colorado, now the #1 district manager last year, #1 branch manager as well, and #1 again this year in the district race. And Claire leading the entire Tulsa Kingdom right now. She's got some of the top reps in the division. She also is building a dynasty of people that are going to be going long term here. And we couldn't be more fired up for what she's got to deliver. Talking about 10K push preparation. I think she did like 9 1-hour meetings on Monday, just get people prepared. She had like another few yesterday, and I'm sure a ton more moving forward this week. And there's nobody better to help you out with this. So put your hands together, unmute yourself. Let's bring up our very own Claire Beckman, Yukon Kingdom.
Yes, sir.
Tulsa Kingdom. Tulsa.
Yukon Dynasty. I get, you just dominated so well. My bad. All right. Either way, though, they're both compliments. Take it away.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so this is gonna be kind of a laid back message. It's gonna be more heavy on the note taking as I go through some of these points. And for those of you that already had a PC with me, heck yeah, this is like the next ingredient to the cake. Has been the big analogy that we've been using, is that essentially creating a 10K, 6K push is kind of like baking a cake. It's kind of, you're going through the process. When we had our PCs, that was like we were greasing the pan and setting the foundation. And then this meeting is like the flour. It's one of the biggest parts. And then each thing moving forward is going to be a big key ingredient per se. So what I'm going to be talking about just for the next 15 minutes here are 4 main things. I'm first just going to talk about mentality, and then I'm going to go to physically, emotionally, and then just some top level tips for push as well. So key number 1, mentally prepping. So I wanted to talk about this first because this is a big part of push, is that you have to mentally prepare yourself with what you're about to dive into and what you have committed to, because it's a 17-day process of full commitment. And are you prepared for that mentally, and you know what it's going to take? Do you understand that there's going to be some sacrifices that you might have to make in the next 17 days? Sorry, you can't go to that party on Friday night because you have a demo, that type of thing, where you're just prepping yourself for what you're about to do, but you also mentally understand that the reward at the end is far greater than any immediate gratification that you could have during the 17 days. So that's on the mentally prep side of things, is just get more comfortable putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. That's how you grow. Get more comfortable putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I don't know any better way to do that other than a push week. I think that anytime I've ever seen any reps grow at a rapid rate, and I've seen rapid growth with myself, it's been through these push weeks, either as a manager or as a representative. I freaking love push, and especially SC2 is everyone's opportunity to really show the division and show yourself what you're truly capable of. So going into this push, no matter what you're at so far for the summer, none of that matters. What matters is this push for you. Like, this is going to be your rise to the top for yourself, and you're going to have so many breakthroughs. So are you mentally preparing for that? Life isn't going to get easier as you get older because if you ask anyone that is older per se, older than you, they'd tell you that exact same thing. Is no, it gets a lot harder, and you have to learn how to, manage challenges, and you have to be able to handle those types of things and difficult things. And push is a lot like life. Within 17 days, there's going to be really good days and really highs, and there's going to be really, really lows, big lows and bad days, but it's all about how you push through them. So it's on a mentally prep. What do you want, and why do you want it? I'll be coming back to this, but just so I don't forget to mention it, on the why do you want it, one assignment that I've given my team has been to create 15 to 50 reasons why you're going after the goal that you've set. And more is better. I was just creating my 100 reasons and I'm already at 30, and that took like maybe 5 minutes. So 15 reasons you could blow out of the water really quickly. But anyway, 15 to 50 reasons why, and then we'll come back to that on one of the next points. Another thing that you can write down on mentally is dedication versus motivation. Dedication versus motivation. Think about it. Like, I'm sure that Nick's a parent and Angel's a parent. I'm sure there's days that Nick wakes up and he's like, oh, I'm not really motivated to take the kids to school, or, I'm not really motivated to go pick Tyler up from practice. But no, like, he dedicated that role when he became a dad. He can't just be like, oh, I'm not really motivated. Sorry, Timmy, like, you can do it. No, he wouldn't be a good partner in that way, right? Dedication versus motivation. Okay, so the second key is physically preparing. So the first part of physically preparing is schedule. There's, if you have a goal but you fail to plan, well, you're kind of planning to fail. So what you need to write down is a day-by-day walkthrough in your planner for the next 20 days. I was so impressed. Francois, or Schwa, he goes by, showed up to our meeting and he said, all right, so this is what I'm doing Monday through Sunday, and then had times for literally everything. Like, that's what I'm talking about. And that was so awesome to hear. I was like, dude, you have no idea how easy you just made this whole meeting. But like a day by day, I would like do it from today, because what do we have on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Well, the half day call days. What do we have tomorrow night? Division meeting. Having literally every single thing in your schedule, and just being really, really intentional about making sure you have every single demo slot lined out. If you have a doctor's appointment and then you book a demo during your doctor's appointment just because you didn't have your schedule planned out, well, that'd be a really silly way to miss out on some CPO, wouldn't it? Just because you failed to plan. So if you don't have a schedule, well, you can go on Google Calendar and just make a schedule there. You can go on Passion Planner and buy a schedule. I don't know, but have that planner for yourself. So you're just being extremely proactive for later on. Another thing to be putting in your schedule is calls. Like, when are you going to be making your calls? So I will give you a little bit of math, because a lot of people had 51 demo slots. So I would prepare yourself to make 510 phone calls throughout the 17 days. Now, for some people, that's like deer in the headlights. 510 phone calls. That's insane. But just divide 510 by 17. What does that equal? That's 30. So that just means you need to make 30 phone calls every day of push. That's a little bit easier to wrap our head around that, And do you need to make 30 calls all in one sitting? Not necessarily. I think it's better to do it that way, but you could do 15 calls in the morning and 15 at night. But is that in the schedule and planned out for yourself? Push is kind of funny if you think about it, because sometimes what we can do is get too caught up in the 10K versus just really breaking it down really, really simple for ourselves. And if you just commit to the action, then that's how you get the result. I mean, how did Michael Jordan rise to fame? Just by luck and crazy genetics? Yeah, no, that's not. He would shoot something like, hundreds and hundreds of shots like every day. He was the one that would stay after practice and work harder than anyone else on the team. He earned that role and he earned his title. No one would know who Jordan is if he wasn't staying after practice and working harder than everyone else. Hard work beats talent and skill any day of the week. So that's why you need to have your schedule, is because then it's planned out and then you don't forget anything. So it's really nice. I remember there was a push week that I made a bet with Nick, and it's too long to go through the whole thing, but essentially I had to make 50 calls every day of push. It wasn't surprising at the end when I had my biggest push week ever. And, you know, the thing that I was dedicated to was not 10K. It was just like, I just have to get the calls in. That's all it was. And it was really, really cool to see how everything unfolded from there. So over the next 20 days, can everything be in there up until the 4th? So plug everything in your schedule, church, family commitments, sports. Like Schwa mentioned when he was telling me his schedule, he has training in the morning and the evening because he's a competitive soccer player. So like he has all that in the schedule, but he still has time for 59 appointments. So is that all that in your schedule? And then your shifts for yourself, look at your phone time as shifts. Like if you were scheduled to go into a normal job, would you just be like, oh, I don't really feel like it, and just not show up? I mean, definitely not this group of people, and because you wouldn't even be on here if you're committing to 10K. But you know what I mean, is that put like those phone calls are dedicated time to make phone calls, and just make it happen. Follow through. When you don't feel like doing it is exactly when you need to be doing it. That's the time you need to be doing that, and stick to it. Another thing on physically prepping is going to be your names list. Do you have 150 names on your list? And if that scares you, don't worry. I'm going to be putting a document in every single group me, and I believe someone will be giving a message on getting more phone numbers. But I found a great document this morning. It's not for me. I didn't make it, so don't give me credit. It's Jason Heinrichs, but he has a lot of really good little tips and tricks with building your names list and then the message today. But do you have 150 names on your list? How fast can you get there? Another physical thing that you need to prep is your about me and goal page. Raise your hand if you have an about me and a goal page. Got a couple hands? Heck yeah. Make one ASAP if you don't have it, and put your push goal on there and have your about me with some fun facts. Make it fun for yourself, right? The more fun that you have making this and excited that you get, then the more excited you're going to be to show it to your customers, because you put actual hard work into that. So that's why that's really important. Anytime I would be showing my customer my goal page, I took a lot of pride in how it looked. And so I always wanted to show it off, and it was really fun for me. I was telling Daniel to put his 50 reasons why on the back of his goal page. So like every single time he's reading to his customers, he's like just seeing and being stimulated essentially by all of his whys. So he's going to quickly not forget that, and get even more tied into his why. So that's on that. And then I wanted to have some time to talk about energy management. That is on a physical thing. We don't have time to go over that, but like, just make sure you're drinking enough water and eating food while you're doing push. Don't go through the full day of 5 demos and have no food, because your last demo of the day is going to suck. You're going to be tired and worn out. So just make sure you're really keeping up on that. Like, can you drink, if you have like a water bottle, can you drink 4 water bottles a day, or, and be just eating snacks throughout the day? Now this third key is emotional preparation. So it's kind of similar to mentally, but it's a little bit different. So emotionally prepping. So it's okay to be nervous, by the way. That's what I did want to tell you guys. Like, it's okay to be nervous for push. I think if you were super confident, you'd be a weirdo, and you probably wouldn't be thinking big enough. So you should be nervous for push, and you should have some of those doubts that go through your head. That means that you're human, and that's okay. What's not okay is to actually believe those things and those thoughts and give into it. But that's totally normal. Another part of this prep here is have the right conversations. Please write that down. Have the right conversations, because if you just start this push without having any conversation with your significant other, your family, the people that you live with, like your friends, and then just all of a sudden you're in this intense push week and no one knows about it, they're not going to understand and they're not going to be tied into your goal and why you're doing this. So it's going to be butting heads. I'll tell you that right now. Can you plan in a time before Monday? Like it absolutely has to happen before Monday, where you sit down with whoever you live with. That's probably the most important one. And you have some conversation with your friends about what it means to you for a push and what it's going to do for you. And that you're going to be busy and you're not going to be as free for the next 17 days. And you're trying to make that bread. You're trying to build your resume. You're trying to gain experience. You're growing yourself personally. You're going after a goal that's going to create huge breakthroughs for yourself. Those types of conversations. When I would sit down with my parents and have that push, there's one specific push week that I wanted to give up on the last day, but I had a conversation with my parents before the push started. And when I was trying to give up, my dad told me to get up off my ass and go make more phone calls. And then he sent me 5 more numbers because he was tied into my goal and he didn't allow me to give up. So that was so big because I ended up hitting my goal and winning whatever it was for that push. So that's really important. Now this fourth and final key, and I know I'm over time. I'm sorry. I cannot do a talk in 15 minutes. But just some top level tips for a big push. Can you have an accountability partner? Can you find someone in the division to be your accountability partner? And can you guys hold each other to showing up for the things that you're committed to showing up for, that you sign on your contract? Appreciate the challenge. Appreciate the moments in this push when you feel like quitting. Like embrace those moments, because when you look back at the end and you're like, wow, I really wanted to quit at the time, but I feel so good that I didn't give up. That there's nothing quite as good as that feeling when you almost give up, but you decide not to, and then you end up hitting your goal. Like that is such a good feeling. And it's going to teach you a lifelong lesson. Audiobooks, podcasts, like look up Changing Lives, Selling Knives. Ace Weekly is another really good one. There's a bunch, but those are the 2 big ones that are going to definitely be beneficial. Have a positive attitude. Your mindset is everything. Track how many demos you're doing. If someone has 62 demo openings, be tracking that. Like maybe you can write on a piece of paper a bunch of different little squares, and every demo that you book, you're crossing that off as you go. And so you know that every single day you're making constant progress. My friend Heather Korinik, she was a CSP a couple years ago, and her, like, every single time she'd be going after a push, she would have this huge poster in the office with all these boxes she could check off. And it was no wonder she always had these massive push weeks, because it was always so motivating for her to be going after and doing that. So anyway, just to recap, and I'm finished here, is go through and do a full 20-day walkthrough in your schedule, put every single thing in there. Mission 150, can you get up to 150 names on your list? Your goal page, create a goal page, 15 to 50 reasons why. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is a skill check, CPR certified, closing phoning recs. I gave a lot of people assignment to have their recommendation script memorized. So like Angel's going to be sending me a recording before Monday, like eyes closed, doing the recommendations approach perfectly. It's going to be awesome. So, and that's going to pay back tenfold because she's going to crush it. So make sure you're preparing for push. We got 3 days. You guys have time. A lot of you have already been doing a lot of work for that, because success is where preparation and opportunity meet. So thanks, guys.
Love it. Awesome, guys. If you want to go to the chat box and blow it up with some biggest takeaways and some phenomenal tips that Claire said, I wish we had time built into the agenda to actually share takeaways. We might have a little bit at the end, but we do have another breakout coming up. So just for time purposes, we're going to move forward. But I just love what you're talking about here, Claire. The mental, the physical, the emotional preparation, possibly even the spiritual preparation to be able to put yourself in the best place to go after the big opportunities. So really, really good stuff there. We're going to bring up our next guest speaker to talk all about getting more names and numbers. Our one and only Ayame Palmer, the district manager in Stillwater. And right now, Ayame is in a position where she has a ton of leads on her list. When she was a rep, she has been one of our top level recruiters. She's also been one of our top level earners here as well. And when I think about Ayame, I think about somebody who's loyal, she's dedicated, she's passionate. And by the way, she faces her fears. She's had a lot of fears to overcome throughout the course of working here, but every time she does, she becomes a better version of herself and more capable of taking on the next challenge. And what I love about Ayame is that, when she was early on, she didn't get off to the strong start, but she just kept showing up. She just kept paying attention. She just kept asking for help. And she just kept believing that, hey, if I just keep moving, I'll keep going and we'll see where it gets me. And now being a district manager in one of the fastest growing divisions, we're so fired up for her. So she has also collected over 100 leads from just one client. So who here would like to get 100 plus recommendations for just one demo? Would that be pretty sweet? Well, she's here to teach you how to do it and also how to get a ton more names on your list. So let's give it up. I'll spotlight her, Ayame Palmer.
Hi.
Woo! Fired up for you. Yeah.
Woo! Let's go. Who's ready for push?
Me.
Who's ready for the Super Bowl? Oh my God.
Me.
Thank you, Zion. I am so excited to go into another beautiful year, another beautiful SC2. And what I loved about what Claire was talking about, the last section of her talk that I got to hear was all about her preparation. And it really all starts off with how many names you have on your list, right? Why do reps sell? Biggest one, because they have people to call. So my talk is going to be a little bit of a like you're doing a workshop as well. I'm not going to be like just preaching to you guys the whole time. So if you have it, take out your initial names list, like all the way back from day one of training. If you have it, we're going to be going through this together. We're going to be building this up. That's going to be the first section. And the next section is just getting a little bit more tips in your recommendations to be able to get 100 people on your list. So the first thing is with your initial names list, right? Thinking about how many you have. Now, we don't have the time to actually go through all of it and count them up individually, but in just to kind of a generalization of how many you have that you haven't done demos for, or how you have done demos for. Because what I like to say is everyone is either a source, right, / lead, or they're a prospect, whether you did a demo for them or not, right? So everyone is a source or a prospect. So just putting that on your notes, just a generalization of how many that you have. Okay, and then also pull out your cell phones as well and go into your contacts. And if you have an app, if you have an iPhone, if you do this, you go all the way down at the bottom, it tells you how many contacts you have. So I have 309 contacts. 309 contacts. And every single one of them is either a source or a lead. How beautiful is that? So you might be sitting here thinking to yourself, I only have 10 names, I only have 15 names. I've already talked to this person. I've already asked for more recommendations. Did you ask with conviction and with passion, and did you share your goals? Or did you just ask saying, hey, is there any way that you can just give me a couple of more leads? Kind of like what Claire was saying with her push about her story, about how she shared with her parents, like what she was going after and why she was going after it. Her dad literally told her to get off her double snakes and make some more phone calls. And out of that, he gave her 5 more recommendations. That's literally your parents right now. Your parents have so many friends in their phone. It's ridiculous. You might not think they're sociable, but all of their coworkers, all of the people who they went to college with, who they went to high school with. So if you don't have that as an assignment from today to sit down with your parents to ask for recommendations, you need to make that an assignment today after you've made your goals list, so that way you can share it to them. So now that we have an idea of how many people we have on our initial list and how many people we have in our contacts, what I want you to do, and put this into your assignments, is to categorize them and to organize them. And if you don't know who they are, that's perfect. But do the best that you can. So I want you to identify them by the best client based on the job that they have, and if they're a MAC client. The job that they have, and if they're a MAC client. Because the more organized that your list is, the less time that you're going to have to dig into your phone time to try to organize and pick and choose on who you want to call. So that way you can just bang them out and start getting them booked up and getting them ready for your push. So if you're looking at this names list now, it's pretty darn exciting. Even your friends that are in your contact list, like I went up to Tulsa yesterday with Zion just to pop in on Claire and Daniel. And Daniel was calling all of his friends to get their parents' numbers, and he had gotten like 3 or 4 friends by the time that we were there. That could be a potential $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 CPO just for calling his friends and sharing his goals with his friends and what he's trying to create for this push. So now to getting more names and numbers, going back through to your AT1 packet that you received and going through those thought joggers, sitting down with self and going through that thought jogger exercise, really asking yourself, do I know anyone who's a plumber? Do I know anyone who's really an electrician? Do I know anyone who's this? Do I know anyone who's that? Do I know anyone who knows anyone that has this profession or goes into this category? I had been here for probably about 2.5 years when I decided to start doing demos again. And I had came up with 20 plus people that I completely forgot about. 2.5 years. I'm still thinking of people who I haven't done presentations for. So that's something else that is really going to help you build up this list, is going back to that thought jogger. And after you go back through that thought jogger, going onto Facebook, going onto your parents' Facebook, going through all of their friends, right? They might not have the friend's phone number, but I bet you that they have their friend's Facebook profile. And you can send them a message. If you don't know or you don't have the script on how to send that message, ask your manager. We can get it sent to you. But essentially, it's just, hey, Fred, this is Helen's daughter, Ayame, blah, 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 going into the script. And then boom, you've booked up the demo. Going through your parents' Instagram. I know it's weird to think someone over 30 who has an Instagram, what the heck? My mom and dad have Instagram. Nick has Instagram. Follow him at Nick Matlack. But so using those different sources. Snapchat, oh my gosh. My parents have Snapchat. As weird as it sounds, I know a 50-year-old man has Snapchat, but you might not think your parents are as cool as you think, but you never really know until you ask. So all the things that we tell you guys to do whenever we want you to post the job out to get your friends on the team, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Your parents are on that too. Believe it or not, they are. So don't limit yourself to just, oh, Facebook, oh, my parents' contacts. Like, be more open to the idea that they're human and they want to see what's going on in the world as well. And they want to stay hip. Just kidding. But no, it's a really great source to use with them. And then also not just your parents, but your parents like best friends. Like I have my dad's best friend, his name is Keith. He's like my uncle. I'm sure you guys have the same concept, like, oh, this is my uncle, but not blood related. You can do the same thing with them. Because even though Keith isn't married, he doesn't own a home, but he's between the ages of 30 and 60, he's not going to be a prospect, but he's going to be a source to give me more prospects. All right. So after that, you need to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable to the action steps that I'm giving you. So after you have these names, after you have these numbers, when are you putting it into your planner to call these new numbers? Are you having your parents send out the heads up text to their friends, letting them know that you're going to call them? Or are you just jumping into the phone? Either way, right? Just creating some type of action in your planner. White space is the enemy. White space is the enemy. So if we aren't booking up demos, right? Or if we're not in a demo, then we're finding a way to create more leads to get to a demo. And the best way to hold yourself accountable to this is to follow up with your manager, make a plan with them on how you're going to get this done. Because that's the main way how you're going to survive this push. It's having 150 to 200 leads going into it. All right, so those are my tips on how to build up your names list even more. Now, here are my tips on how to get more recommendations. Number 1, have it memorized. I love how Angel's gonna send Claire a little video of her memorization here soon. That's really cool. So having it memorized, having more compassion and conviction and belief in what you're working towards. And don't be afraid to reshare your goals, right? You share your goals at the beginning, you let them know what you have going on, and then you spend 45, 50 minutes talking about the product, talking about how awesome Cutco is, all that stuff. So not saying that your goals can be lost in with all the materials that you're going in, but a few things here and there can definitely be forgotten. So don't be afraid to bring it back up at the very end, right? You can like insert it somewhere. And then having a sponsorship signature page. Now I understand that we're virtual and everything, but go on Canva, go on Google Docs, make like a fun little like signatures page for your customers. So that way, when you get 5 or 10 recommendations, you can put their name down on there. Or you can send them an email to the link and say, awesome, thank you so much. Could you put your name on this? This is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to show this to my future customers as well on how many recommendations I'm going to be able to get. So if we're having like a goal thermometer with our CPO that we're selling throughout SC2, do the same thing with your sponsorships. Keep track of those. Make it awesome, because that's how you guys are going to continue doing work, is through the sponsorships. All right, and then just asking. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I love how almost every time I give a talk about names list, the fact that I got 111 names on one demo is always brought up. But you know the secret sauce to that is? You ready? I just asked. There was no secret sauce. There was no tips, tricks. There was no, this, that, or the third. It was just sweet. So is there any way you can give me 100 names and numbers, Mrs. Jones? You never know, right? And that was the best part about it. And then always asking the question of, who do you know who? Who do you know who, Mrs. Jones? Because like the same concept that you probably have about your parents about they don't know anybody, you're probably having probably have the same concept for your customers. They're super sociable. There's no way that they have gone through this world 30 plus years old and they literally don't have 5 people to give you. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, right? Well, I guess mom and dad would be 1, grandma, grandpa would be 2, aunts, uncle, friend, boom. Don't be afraid to be like, so do your parents like to cook? Do you have any siblings? Who's your favorite coworker? You got to get that belief out of your head that people really don't know anybody. Because I don't meet any of those categories, but if any one of you guys were to ask me for recommendations, I could give you 5 off the top. Doesn't matter if they like to cook or not. So mastering these skills is going to be the key to your financial security, not just short term during this push, but long term. If you see yourself long term here, if you see yourself in Leadership Academy in August, which every one of you should be there, if you see yourself on the events team, you see yourself in my shoes, Claire's shoes, Brandon's shoes, JJ's shoes, running a district or a branch, this is the key that you have to master to secure your financial security and to secure your success here. You ask any one of us, we probably know the recommendation script like the back of our hand because of constant practice and conviction. Also, this right here is going to get you to Dirty 30. So most of you guys are students, so you won't have to worry about finances when you go back to school. Right? And you're going to be able to build a business that is going to be lucrative for years and years to come. Been in this business for 3 years. Claire's been in this business for 5. Nick has been in this business for 15. We're able to still consume and create business that we have made so many years ago because of relationships, number one, and because we weren't afraid to ask. So it's not just about SC2 when it comes to recommendations, when it comes to preparation, when it comes to anything that you hear from this talk today. It's about your future. So how are you going to prepare for it, and what are you going to work on to master it? How am I on time?
It's fantastic. Perfect. I think we're right on track to bring up our next speaker and still have some time for breakouts.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's give her a big round of applause. Great stuff. If you guys want to share any of the takeaways, I know after I deliver a message, while I look over the chat box, it's always nice to know what lands and what feedback to get from the audience. So how we feeling, guys? We feeling pretty good so far? Yes? Has this been valuable? All right. And I hope that we're feeling good about it. So for the first time ever, we have a brand new speaker. And I'm excited about Destiny Medlock talking about this. Man, when I remember seeing Destiny in training and having her there, she was energized, she was focused, she was smiling, but only like half smiling. And then she crushed her push and got her brand new gamer chair. And now she never stops smiling. No, I'm kidding. But Destiny, you've been such a blessing to have in our division. I know it felt like just a few weeks ago hitting 3K right after SLDM, already getting your first ultimate sold and winning a free piece of Cutco from the contest, and then being able to step up to the 6K Lions or to the 6K promotion, and now well on your way to 10,000 and looking to more than double your career sales in the matter of just a couple weeks. We are really fired up for that. If you don't remember Destiny at SC1, she was the #1 assistant manager in sales, and then I also believe she was in the top 5, if not definitely the top 10 in overall sales for the push as well. And there were some good days, there were some bad days, there were some highs, some lows, but one thing she did is just commit to the process of push. And that is something that Ayame has just been talking from the rooftops about, is that no matter what was going on, she was consistently communicating, consistently making calls, and consistently dedicated to the process of what the push really was, right? And because of that, now she's coming back for more for SC2. So Destiny, we are fired up to hear from you. No pressure at all. We're just excited that you're on the agenda, that you set such a great example for SC1 for so many others to look up to. And we are really excited to hear about some of your stories, some of your thoughts, and then we'll go into breakout. So without further ado, let's put our fingers, we'll give her spirit fingers because everybody's on mute right now. Let's give her some spirit fingers. Destiny Medlock. Woo! It's all for you.
All right. Hey, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Amazing.
That's good. All right. So I'm going to be talking about my commitment to my goal for push, or some stories. So first, I'm going to start by telling you how I got started with Cutco to get where I am today. I started my fast start immediately after training and went on with my first demo. So The first manager I had was like not answering the phone, which spurred me to change my manager to a Yame by my second demo. So I'm thankful that I got through to her, because later she told me because my number wasn't recognized, she was like gonna ignore me or something. So yeah, I'm glad she answered the call. But after that day, she started to help me more. And now I appreciate the help she's giving me as well. So then she turned into my permanent manager, which I was excited about. And as you can imagine, starting out on a sales job with zero experience seems somewhat overwhelming at first. However, as you can tell, I didn't just crawl into my bed and cry, right? So yeah, anyway, so right. But a wise thing that I came across was once that a challenge can be taken two ways. Either you can give it a couple tries and say, I can't, and give up, or you can continue trying to overcome that challenge. So my constant challenge is that I'm an introverted person, constantly working to try to be more out there. Despite my downfalls and hard days, just attending one meeting or having one call with my amazing, magnificent manager, Ayame, refills my positivity bar to 100%. So starting to prepare was being able to go to my team meetings and getting help, and it helped me reach my and helped me list my critical 5 of who I might think is going to buy. Going over names list on who I will schedule for a demo that week or the next, and keeping a schedule, you can say, is incredibly important. Like Claire was saying earlier, to keep your schedule and having list everything out. I think that's really good, because knowing when you're going to eat, or when you have a demo, or when you're going to call is really important as well. So we are in charge of our plans, thoughts, and lives. So to make sure I never miss any of my goals, I write them down and try to remember them in my thought and in my brain. So being able to do that, and building up your names list is another thing as well. So you can do this by scheduling a PC with your manager, or making a chicken list, or putting sticky notes on neighbors' doors. I kind of got in trouble for that a little bit because I live in an apartment complex. So make sure to ask first until you do that. Making sure to get referrals from your customers as well. And another thing about your managers, do not forget to call them to close those deals for you. That's really important also. And calling them can often help close the deal and gets you further in your career sales. Also, getting out your planner and planning out what you should be doing every day and all day, and performing in the push is not to, especially not to give up when you don't want to try anymore. And that is why it's called the push, is to help push you out of your comfort zone. So you must keep going for the goal you made, even if you don't achieve it in the end. So stopping will only keep you in the same place you were already in. Will keep you in the same place you were already in. Now, the execution I made was a day by day and hour by hour. Time is money in this case. So the more time you waste, the less money you could be making. Pull out your planner and start phoning and scheduling those demos. It's what I did. I know I don't like phoning much either. So it makes me pretty salty when it gets dry, or if someone hangs up on you, or they hung up on me. Like the first time somebody hung up on me, I wanted to quit right then and there. Like I was really done, honestly. But I tried to lift myself up. I calmed myself down, and I started phoning again. So always try to stay positive and don't let yourself get down. With phone calls, to get over them is to just do them. So those 8 a.m. Champions Club calls really inspired me as well. So it helped me get more calls in as well for future customers. And making calls by yourself can get pretty boring, and you can get distracted easier. So being with others and someone cheering you up helps as well. So the last thing I will be talking about is my accountability. After planning and preparing what actions I took afterwards, I try to go by everything I wrote down in my planner, going to champions clubs, always checking to see if I was on top. Even at the conference, I was still asking Ayame if I was still at the top until the conference actually started, which was the end time of push. So yes, don't stop until it's over. Finish off strong, even if you didn't hit your goal, because I didn't hit mine for the push. So I still finished off strong and was happy with how I did. A quote that I found and related to was as well is the hardest part is starting. Once you get out of that way, you'll find the rest of the journey much easier, by Simon Sinek. And I left the rest for Q&A.
All right. I love it. Really, really good stuff. You got us right back on track with timeline because we had 15 minutes for a breakout, and this will actually provide me with just enough space. So if you guys could unmute yourself with me just to make sure Destiny feels really good. I know that sometimes it can be nerve-wracking. Well, let's give her a big round of applause. Great stuff. Make some noise. Proud of you. And man, oh man, this is on recording, so it'll be fun when you're running your own office or you are the next version of Ayame, helping other people who are having a tough time, paying it forward to be able to look back at one of your first messages. It's going to be cool. So I loved what you talked about there. You really reminded me of what PUSH stands for, persist until success happens, right? And there's so much value in your story, in just your timeline of going through it, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, not giving up, but feeling like giving up. And sometimes the most, simple things can make us get completely overwhelmed and frustrated and feel like just giving up, And when we look back on it, it wasn't as big of a deal. So thank you so much for just being authentic, being genuine, having the courage and the confidence to jump on here. And sometimes it's weird to give a message to this many people on Zoom, but you did it. And we're really proud of you. So really, really nice stuff. Guys, I'm going to do a screen share right now, and I want to talk about one of the three components that we just discussed. Number one, we talked about the importance of sharing your goals and prepping. And one of the things I want you to do right now is I want you to take some time to go ahead and go into your Vector Connect website. I want to show you how this works. And I don't know if you all know you can do this or not, but if you go to your Vector Connect website and you click on the interactive demo, you can go up here where it says profile. And this is really neat. They just updated this recently. And if you click up here and click profile, this will allow you to edit your profile picture, to edit your bio. And in the past, the only thing you could edit was your bio and your Zoom code. But what they've added now is the customize about me and the customize goals. So if you know this or not, you can click right here under customize about me. And if you're not a student and you're like, yeah, I'm not competing for a scholarship, you can just uncheck this and it will no longer show up in your slide deck. Make sense? So pretty cool stuff. The other thing you can do is you can add new. So if you wanted to, you could go out on Canva and you could create an About Me page, or you could create a slide that has a bunch of different, things that you want to go after, and then you can upload that right here to the section, give it a title and even a description, right? And the title would be very similar to what you see with awards and recognition, and the description of it would be below that. That way, when you get to that slide that shows these three figures on your demo, your client is actually seeing your breakdown and what you're about and what you're going after, right? And the last thing that I love is you can click this and edit your talking notes. So this allows you to change your About Me page. So instead of just saying, let me tell you a little bit about me, I think I'm in school and I might have a major and I last time checked had some hobbies, you can actually type them up and just read that word for word. Also, what's cool about this is it allows you to update why you're working here, to update what you're going after. And if you're out of your Fast Start contest, well, just delete that, right? And say, right now, I'm in the biggest contest of the year called the SC2 Push, or the Super Bowl of the Vector World. This is where everybody goes head to head, and I've got a huge goal, and I could really use your help. And if you didn't write that quote down, I would write that down. I need your help. One of the most powerful phrases in the human language. And guys, don't make this too wordy, but if you have an outline of the things you want to talk about, what's cool is every time you do it, you might change it, you might make it better, and you'll be able to update that by going through and getting all that in there, right? And the last thing you can do is customize your goals. And if you want to, you can go ahead and customize your goals, and you're able to edit these goals. So if I wanted to, I could put in my SC2 goal. I could change this to $10,000. I could have my start CPO and end CPO, right? And when I would want to update that. And by doing that, I would be able to go ahead and save it, and it would show the thermometer as I make progress towards my goal and as things get entered and submitted. Does that make sense? So pretty cool opportunity there to customize all of this and make your demo the best. Now, once you've done that, you can go back and you can actually test it by either creating a same day demo or going to a practice demo. And once you do this, you can launch the practice demo. And what you'll be able to do is see what a client is seeing by starting your practice demo and going slide by slide. So if we were to update those, what the client would see here is your new slide deck. They would also see right, your bio, and then you would see your script that would be written right in here, right? What's also cool is where it says click more to show the thermometer. If I click more and click my goal, it's going to show my breakdown of my thermometer with how I'm doing towards my push goal and the updates that I'm getting. Everybody got that? So I would definitely recommend getting all of that prepared as you move forward and as you go forward. Cool? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and go to breakouts. And what I'd like you to do is share what has been your biggest takeaway from the entire event so far. So before we transition back into the next section, what has been your biggest takeaway for the entire event so far? Cool. And I want you to do this in groups of 3. So we're going to go to breakouts right now. You'll have about 2 minutes to share. So everybody will get a few minutes to share, and we'll be able to go through that. And then after this, we'll come back together and we'll go ahead and wrap up our meeting. Does that sound good? We still have some really good action on here. For some of you, you might not be in a group of 3, you might be in a group of 2, but have some fun, meet some new people, exchange phone numbers, and share your biggest takeaway, as well as actually 2 things. What's your biggest takeaway? And what's the number one thing that you need to do to get prepared for push right now? Is that talk to family? Is that prep your leads list? Is that update your about me page, right? And when you do it, I want your partner to ask you, when are you going to do it? Because like Claire said, if it's not written down, it's not going to get done. So you got 8 minutes for your groups. Have some fun, meet some people. We'll see you soon. All right, for those of you watching the recording, you can get that done too. We'll see you soon. All right.
Wow. Got cut off, Chloe. Sorry.
Cut off. 10 seconds. I don't give timers here. We just get it done. All right. I got a recording going again. How do we feel? Yeah? Who had some good discussion?
We'll be in.
Yeah? I like it. I like it a lot. Well, I really am learning a lot from this meeting. This 3 hours is just rolling by. We're already 2/3 of the way through. We're on to the last hour and segment, and I'm pretty fired up. If you like hockey, you really like 3 because you're all about periods instead of quarters. But if you don't like hockey, well, bummer. You're going to have to sit through the 3 anyway. So what we've covered so far is what do you want, right? I would write that down in your notes, right? Do you know what you want? And after you think you know what you want, ask yourself, do you really want that? Because if you're interested in something, you're going to get very interesting results. But if you're committed to something, you're much more likely to get what you want, right? So what does full commitment look like? The second category we went through is why do you want it? Right? Why do you want it? Why is this important to you? What's it going to do to your future, personally, professionally, financially? We've talked a lot about that. And the third one is how you're going to get it, right? How are you actually going to get it? And that's what we're here to talk about as we wrap up my message, Brandon, Hannah, and then Carlton to finish things off. So I'm really excited. We've got the next part of our message right now called 10K Push Execution. 10K push execution. We're going to build this thing right now. I just created a brand new URL. I just created a brand new document with the help of Zion. I'm really fired up to show it to you, but I'm not going to teach it to you or show it to you until we're done with this. So I'm going to spotlight my video for everybody, and that way the recording looks good, and let's dive in. So let's talk about the 5 keys to a great push. 5 keys to a great push. These are 5 keys to push execution. I've been teaching a lot of these things for a long time, but every year it changes up, it gets a little bit better, and I'm really excited about that. The number one thing you need to write down is having real expectations. The number one thing for having a great push is having real expectations. Push is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done before because you've never done it. Push is going to be mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausting. It is going to make you feel like quitting almost every day, right? If not every demo. And if you really want something that is something outside your comfort zone, something you've never done before, it's supposed to be hard. right? I love the quote from the movie A League of Their Own. Anybody ever watched the movie The League of Their Own, right? And Tom Cruise is in there. I think Tom Cruise, but anyway, he's talking about it as the coach of one of the first female baseball teams, and one of the number one people is about to leave. And he's like, why are you leaving? We're about to like move up into the championships, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, it just got too hard. And he said, hard? He says, hard is what makes it worth it. It's supposed to be hard. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to know that when it comes to real expectations for your push, you need to make a commitment to going hard for it, right? And who's tougher? Is the challenge tougher than you, or are you tougher than the challenge? That's what you should focus on. And I want you to think about it, right? It's not about avoiding getting hit or avoiding bad demos or avoiding disappointments or avoiding being hung up on or avoiding getting told no. If you try to dodge and weave throughout your entire push and with an avoidance mentality, are you kidding me? You're not going to get what you want. There's two types of mindsets, scarcity mindset and abundance mindset. A scarcity mindset says, what's the least I can do to at least get by and survive? By the way, there's a lot of people that go through life with that mentality. I'm not going to judge them and tell them it's right or wrong. It's just their choice. There's also an abundance mindset where it says there is plenty. There is more than enough. There is extra, in fact, but it's not going to be easy to find. Does that make sense? And an abundance mindset says, what happens when I do my absolute best? What is possible when I actually show up? That's the difference, abundance versus scarcity. So when you go through your push, I want you to think about not trying to avoid things, but instead saying embrace things. Take it head on. Heck yeah, you told me no. How many no's can I get? Heck yeah, I made 20 calls and nobody answered. How can I make 20 more? Does that make sense? And when you embrace the challenge, when you embrace the adversity, when you embrace the frustration, guess what? It doesn't feel so bad anymore. It's like, yeah, bring it on, baby. I want more. How much more can I take? Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's really what it's about when it says having real expectations. It's shifting your expectations ahead of time to know it's going to be hard. So when it gets hard, you high five it, knowing it's going to be challenging. And so when it becomes challenging, you embrace it. You get excited about it. It's like, yeah, bring it on. Make it harder. And if you go in that way, it's no longer so frustrating and so overwhelming. Does that make sense? I also want to share with you that you need to write this down. You're going to have 4 good days. 4 great days. A great day, well, I don't know, but I want you to write next to 4 great days, what does your best day look like? Now, we don't have the time to figure that out now, but I want you to write that down. What does your best day look like? Does your best day look like having 8 demos, completing 8 demos, having 8 sales, getting 40, 50, 60 referrals, selling $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in a day? What is the best day of your push going to look like? Get that? You're also going to have 4 good days. What's a good day look like to you? A good day to me is 5 demos, 3 to 4 sales, right? I sold $1,000. It's progress, baby. It's not what I wanted, but it's still good, right? You're going to have 4 okay days. An okay day is not a bad day. It's an okay day. It's a day where you're like, could have been better. Had some challenges, some things that I didn't enjoy or didn't expect or didn't know were going to happen. But you know what? I still got a couple sales, or I got a lot of referrals. Or you know what? Today wasn't a day of any demos, but man, I booked up 5 more and I've got a full day tomorrow. And the last thing you're going to have is 4 terrible days, bad days, days you feel like quitting, days you're out, days you're done. Now, if you're not working all 16 days of push, then you can't trust that philosophy. You need to know how many actual days are you going to work the 16 days and then break it down into those 4 compartments. If I'm Chloe, maybe I only have 12 days to work. Well, now it's 3 great, 3 good, 3 okay, and 3 bad, right? Or maybe I only have 10 days to work. So now maybe it's, 3 great, 3 okay, 3 bad, and 1 wild card, right? But set that expectation for yourself ahead of time. I want you also to write down that every day counts and every day matters, and you need to treat it as such. There is no tomorrow. I want you to write down a quote, if not now, when? If you don't choose to take action on preparing or action on making phone calls in that moment, when are you ever going to? Because there is a clock, there is a timer, there is a countdown, and you don't have forever. And I love the power of deadlines. I'm not saying I love deadlines, but I love the power of deadlines and what they do for us. Because truth is that without deadlines, none of us would be where we're at in our life right now. Can you imagine just not having deadlines going through school? It's like, yeah, just take it at your own pace. Well, not sure we'd all be as educated, huh? right? Can you imagine watching a game of sports where it's like, yeah, we'll play till we're exhausted and then look at the score? That wouldn't be very much fun anymore, right? The power of deadlines is what makes things exciting. So there is a deadline, and you've got to commit to knowing that every day counts. I also want you to write down, celebrate adversity. Celebrate adversity. Anybody can celebrate good demos, good sales, good phone times, good phone sessions, and recommendations, but it takes a freaking champion to celebrate the bad, to look at it and not take them so seriously and to laugh it off. How you doing, Claire? Absolutely awful, Nick. How are you doing? My mom taught me that. She was an educator for 36 years for 5th graders. I'm an only child. I never ever saw her frown or get upset. It was ridiculous. I can't say never, there were a few times. But when I was growing up and I got in trouble, my mom would smile. She's like, oh, honey, you just grew on the wall and that was not okay. So it's time to go up to your bedroom for some time out. Come on. And she was like smiling. And I'm like, okay, Mom, that sounds good. I'm in trouble, right? But it just didn't have the gravity and emotional weight that a lot of times it has. Do we get that? So make that decision right now to embrace adversity. When you have a bad demo, celebrate that. When you have a bad phone time, celebrate that. Yeah, I just made 20 phone calls and nobody answered. What are you going to do about it? Make 20 more, because after every bad phone time comes a good phone time. After every bad demo comes a good demo. And if you just use that quote and you say it verbally out loud, your subconscious is going to listen to it. So number 1 is have real expectations. Number 2, just show up. Holy crap, I cannot stress the value of just showing up. Do you know why most successful people, right, succeed? Because they freaking show up. And do you know why that's such a big tip? Because the majority of people don't show up. Most of you are sitting here right now and you're like, where are the other people in my training class? Well, guess what? They gave up and they didn't show up. Here's the deal. Just showing up gives you a very, very valid chance at hitting your goal. So what do you need to show up to? Well, first off, you need to show up to all of the activities and the agenda and things in the schedule that you can make. And if you're not going to show up to something, no biggie, not going to judge you, but here's the question I want you to write down. What will you do to make up for it? Nick, no, you don't understand. Like on that day, I can't make that meeting because of XYZ. Fantastic. You can't make it. That's a choice. What are you going to do to make up for it? Do we get that? You don't need 16 days to sell $10,000. In fact, we've had people who sold $10,000 on one order or one day or one weekend before. I've been one of them. But you know what? You do need to have a plan that if you can't make something, you can make up for it. And I'll tell you that when it comes to showing up, build in layers of accountability. We have morning alliance meetings from 7:30 to 9:30. Let me be very clear about this. Even though the meeting part and the teaching part is only the first 30 minutes, we expect you to be on Zoom every morning, Monday through Saturday, from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning. We expect you to be on camera. We expect you to be a part of the alliance and play all out, because it only counts, right, if everyone's there. You think about it, and a team, a group, an organization is only as strong as its weakest link. We need everybody, and you need to be there. So showing up and being fully present. By the way, not showing up to something is like choosing to fail, unless you have a plan to what? Make up for it. Right? But just not showing up, that's like just choosing to fail. It was a choice. And you know what? Those who don't give their absolute best always live with regret, because they look back and they wonder, what if? What if I would have shown up every morning? What if I would have made phone calls every day? What if I would have actually put in more effort? But you know what? People that actually give their best, regardless of the result and whether or not they hit their goal, they look back and they don't have any regrets, because they have pride in what they did. They have pride in how they showed up. And they look back and saying, I left it all out there. I gave it my all, and nobody judges them. But everybody judges a quitter. Don't be a quitter. Just show up. And when it comes to showing up, I want to talk about a schedule for you. Now, I'm not going to give you this link yet, but I'm going to show you something. I just created this for a Google form, and I am fired up about it because there's so much value from this, and I want to show it to you. So this is the next 3.5 weeks. And this is something that Zion did. I loved it. And so what we've got is the dates at the top. We are here. I didn't put in the alliance meeting, but I should, and the division meeting tomorrow. But we have half day call day on Friday, 4 to 8, 4 hours. Just show up. And if you're not going to, what are you going to do to make up for it? Saturday, we have another half-day call day after the AM call, right? 10 until 2. Just show up. We have another half-day call day on Sunday from 3 until 8. Now, the way these are going to work is we're going to phone for 50 minutes and then take a 10-minute break, socializing, watching a YouTube video, joking around, right? Getting some food, and then back into it. The goal is 20 calls per hour and 2 demos booked per hour, which means if you showed up to all of these, you would have 4 plus 4 plus 5. That would be a total of 13 hours. If you were booking 2 demos per piece, you would have over 20 demos booked before push even begins. Raise your hand if you'd like to have 20 appointments booked up before push even starts. Is that a confidence boost? Heck yeah, and that all happened because you just showed up. And if you can't make those days and times, no worries. You don't need us to make phone calls, but I'll tell you, it's a heck of a lot more exciting when you're making phone time, blowing up the chat box, everyone's booking demos. It's competitive, it's exciting, it's a lot easier to do something with other people than just on your own. Now, push starts on the 19th. That's why it's all in green. Every morning Alliance meeting, 7:30 to 8, and then we want to make 30 phone calls and book 4 demos every morning, staying on camera and updating it all in Vector Impact. And from then on out, you can make the rest of your schedule. But like we talked about, if you did a 10 o'clock, an 11:30, a 1 o'clock, a 2:30, a 4 o'clock, a 5:30, a 7 o'clock, and an 8:30, you could do 8 demos a day every single day. Now, if this whole concept of phoning a bunch to book up your first week worked, well, let's recharge on Sunday the 25th and do another half-day call day from 4 to 8 to book up the next week. Now, after that, we've got our second week of the push, right? All the way through the 26th through the 1st. And the last thing that's in here that you need to show up to, and again, we don't have Alliance meetings on Sunday. They're Monday through Saturday only. But coming up on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to wrap things up, we will have an 11th hour call time where you're going to call every single one of your clients back until they answer and find a way to get them booked up and to show up to that. SC2 conference is 12 to 6. If you sign up today, guess what? You can still do a 4 charge. You get a 4-pack of table knives and a tray worth $180, and it's only $60 to go to the event. $15 a week out of your paycheck, and table knives are the coolest. Not to mention you get 4 knives and a tray. You can sell them individually, sell them all at once, make a bunch of money, or just keep them and be the coolest, sharpest college kid when you go into your dorm room, right? Yeah, you get that? I said it. Also, we've got the limo bus at 10 o'clock, and we've got the Cafe do Brasil dinner at 7:30. So just to be clear, guys, 6:30 limo picks up. I think 7:45 or 8 we're going to do the dinner, but it's very important that you know about this, right? 10K to hit the limo and dinner, 6K to hit dinner. So even if you don't hit your goal of 10, just by doing 6, you still get to go to the dinner. The last couple things that are built into this that I'm really fired up for is you've got your demo tracker, you've got your CPO result, and you've got your leads result. So you can start to put in demo number 1, right? No sale, but I got 5 leads. Demo number 2, right? 264, and I got 30 leads, and you can start to track it and watch your progress. Also, this is an example of what Zion has done. Already put all of this in, as well as all of his days, building it up, what he has in color coding with activities, with demo spots, and this is how he defined that he had 51 demo spots throughout his push, if you look at all the days he's gonna be going all out, right? Which is pretty cool. And he's a manager and also running his own office. Another thing that's in here is a checkbox. Now, you can change the dates, but this allows you to have checkpoints of what you need to be doing every day. Drinking water, reading the Bible, praying, working out, right? Washing your face, little things. And that way you can start to check them off as they happen and say, yep, I did those 3, I did these 2, and you can start to break that down for every day of push. The last thing it has in here that I love is a records board. This is so cool. What is your biggest sale? Okay, what is your biggest closing streak? Most amount of sales in a row. Most amount of demos booked in a day, right? Also, this allows you to have another place to get your orders for the push and count those down, as well as track them. And one of the last things over here is you can look back at SC1 and you can go through the 16 days and say, okay, well, let me see what's real. And let me put down the CPO, the demos, and the recs for every day. And then let me do the same and track that for SC2. And it totals it at the bottom, so you have a running total of what you're at and how you're doing. Do we get that? So really, really powerful, and that's all under the label of just showing up. Number 3, I'd like you to write down is communicate often. Communicate often. Communication is the foundation of every relationship. And if we don't know how you're feeling and you don't share with us how you're feeling, we can't really help you and we can't really coach you. Do we get that? So it's so important for every one of you to make a decision to commit to just communicating. When you don't feel like doing something the most is probably an indication that you need to do it right then, right? When I can't, I must. That's what I tell myself a lot. When I feel like I can't do something, it's probably an indication that I need to get it done. So communicate often and frequently. One of the values of being on this alliance and showing up every morning and being a part of it is that you're going to see familiar faces. You're going to be able to see different people's stories. You're going to be able to celebrate and excite with them and really move things forward. Another thing that I love about communication is that you can be real and honest. We're not here to judge you. We're here to listen. And when you share frustrations, guess what? You immediately divide them in half. But when you share celebrations, you multiply them by 2. Isn't that awesome? So guess what, right? If you had a bad day the previous day and somebody else had a great day and they share that celebration, well, they're multiplying the emotional effect of that, right? But also if you had a bad day and you share that with something, well, you're dividing that. And now it's less half by half, right? It's half as emotionally overwhelming. So make a commitment to communicate frequently. Call your manager before, during, and after every single demo. Make sure that you're checking in. And when you don't feel like calling, call. When you don't know what to do, call. But the more you call, the better off you'll be. Never, ever underestimate the power of just one phone call or one demo or one day or one order. You know, anything can change in an instant. Last year during our push, we had a girl named Yasmin. She had gone through her first week, had 14 demos booked. She had 7 completed. She'd gotten like 4 orders and she was barely at 1,000. Now she was going after $15,000 and I kept trying to reach her and I couldn't. And I finally sent her a text and I said, hey, can I be honest? I need a phone call back. We got to talk because I'm assuming you probably don't want to. She finally called me. We talked for 20 minutes and I got her back into a great place emotionally and mentally. And I said, hey, you know what? We've had our bad days, but what if your next phone call was a guaranteed ultimate? What if your next demo was a guaranteed Cutco Kitchen? If you had just sold a Cutco Kitchen, how would you be feeling right now? And we discussed that. And guess what? I said, never ever be afraid to ask for a last minute same day demo. So she started making phone calls. Our conversation was at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Monday, Miracle Monday. Guess what? She started making calls around 3 o'clock. By 5 o'clock, she texted me and she said, hey, I just booked a last minute same day demo tonight at 6. And guess what I got? A phone call at 6:45. And she said, hey, you know that client that I booked last minute today? Yeah, well, they'd like to buy a Cutco Kitchen and they don't know how to write it up. It was a $4,000 sale. And guess what? She had booked it, that day. And that was after a really frustrating week. She went from $1,000 for push to over $5,000 for push. All because of what? One conversation. So the power of communication. I could tell you a ton of other stories, but I'm out of time. Number 4, I want you to write down is to never give up. Your biggest plays come on the very last days. Your best demos come on the very last days. And you know what? With decreased time comes increased productivity. This is a great worksheet that you can get from your manager about SC2 and working it in quarters. Quarter number 1, right? Breaking it down and looking at those first 4 days. Quarter number 2, the next 4 days, right? But if you know anything about sports, the first quarter and the first half doesn't really matter. In fact, the best movies and the best games that were made on the ones that were the biggest comebacks, yes? So third quarter is where really things start to count. This is where you go all out intense, and this is after halftime. Now matters more than ever. And then you got your fourth quarter starting push. You are getting physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted, but there's only a few days left, and I'll have you write this down. Champions finish strong, right? And we want you to be a champion. So again, never give up. Anything is possible, and you got to realize that the miracle equation is extraordinary effort and unwavering faith. And if you can do that, you're going to crush it. And the fifth and final thing I have for you is a very simple step, and that is to just have fun. The whole point of push is to have fun and to grow and become a better version of yourself. If you're not having fun, you're doing it all wrong. This job is designed to be fun. So when I think about having fun, what I mean by that is 5 keys to have more fun. When bad things happen, here's how I like to respond. Are you ready? Number 1, when something bad happens, I smile. That's number 1. I smile. Because you know what? When you put a smile on your face, it's hard to feel as bad. Number 2, I laugh. Oh man, that really just happened. Oh boy. All right. Number 3, you know what I do? I ask this question. Are you ready? Will this matter blank from now? I want you to jot that down. Will this matter blank from now? And by the way, I start with a small timeline and I increase it. Is this going to matter an hour from now? Yeah. Is it going to matter a day from now? Maybe. Is it going to matter a week from now? Probably not. Will it matter a month from now? For sure not. I won't even remember. Right? And eventually you get to a timeline where you convince yourself it's not as big of a deal. And if it's not going to matter in a day, a week, or a month, then why does it need to matter so much now? Can we just skip that frustration part and just have fun? How about that? Right? And by the way, the last thing I'll do when I'm trying to have more fun is this, last two things. What would blank do? After I get myself into that mindset where I say it's not going to be that big of a deal soon, what would blank do? Now you could ask WWJD if you want to, or you could ask what would Claire Beckman do? What would Zion Wood do? Right? What would that person that you look up to, Carlton Thompson, Rob Steiner, Marissa Mayer, whoever it is, what would they do in this situation? And then the last one is to take action. So again, have fun. And when bad things happen, remember, you have a choice. You always have a choice. And you can choose to let it affect you and take you down, or you can choose to be tougher than that. And you can choose to not take yourself so seriously, laugh it off, and just get back to having fun. Sound good? So I know I took a couple extra minutes, but I hope that was helpful and you got some benefit from it. I want to transition and pivot into our next speaker, which is Mr. Brandon Cobb, talking about how to master the fundamentals and how to really take this job head on. And when I think about this job, it is such a simple business. That does not mean that it's easy, but it is definitely simple. And Brandon has been around now for 5 years, since 2016. Father of Alina, and just amazing champion, super competitive basketball player in college. And now he is running the district office in the Norman area. And if there's anybody who knows the power of mastery of fundamentals, it is Mr. Brandon Cobb. So let's bring him up. Give him a big round of applause. Take it away, sir.
All right. Thank you for that. All right, everyone. How are we enjoying the meeting so far?
A lot.
Lots. Thumbs up. Head nods, head bobs. All right, cool, Gucci. All right, so we're going to be talking about for about the next 10 to 15, just about how to master the fundamentals. So if you want to be great at anything, like, you just have to understand there's no magic when it comes to being great at something. There's no magic. There's no secret sauce. There's no Mike's secret stuff. If we any Space Jam people in here, it's none of that. All right. So the key to being great at your craft and to being successful is to simply master the fundamentals. All right. Now, how you master the fundamentals, this is simply by repetition and passion. All right. Repetition and passion is how you master the fundamentals. And that's not a quote from me. That is a quote from the great DBM Drew Frank. All right. So to put it in more perspective, who here likes playing basketball or playing football or any kind of sport? Okay. The ones that have their hands up, it's probably because you're good at that particular sport. All right. Now, who here does not like playing basketball or football? All right. It's probably because you suck at it. All right. Now, here's the thing. Whatever you're good at, it's because you've obviously repeated it a number of times and you have some kind of passion for it. All right. So whatever you're good at, that's what you have passion for. Now, and the things that you're not good at, you know, basketball, but making a layup or shooting a three, playing football, whatever it is, you obviously don't have any passion for it because you're not repeating it. All right. So that is like, that's like the negative downfall when it comes to the fundamentals. Now, here's the good thing. All right. Whatever that particular weakness is in that particular craft or that skill, whenever you find some passion to get better at it and you start repeating it over and over again, then you get good at it. All right. So let's jump into another perspective. Let's talk about how we can begin to master the fundamentals within the business. Who here likes phoning? Whether you're an assistant manager or a rep, who here likes phoning? All right. It's probably because you're good at it, because you have practice making the calls, the same calls over and over and over again. All right. Now, from all my honest people, who here hates phoning? All right. Ready for this? It's probably because you suck at it. Now, here's the thing. This is good. It's good that we're having this little conversation because we're going into push, and phoning is one of the most important things that you have to do in order to achieve the push goals that you want to achieve. All right. So whatever you're not good at, if you work at the fundamentals at that certain skill or craft with repetition and passion, You're going to get better at it, and you will start to like it more because you're getting better at it. All right. So now I'm gonna jump into five keys when it comes to mastering your fundamentals within the business for push. All right. So number one, follow your manual and read your script. Follow your manual and read your script. This is why a lot of reps and a lot of managers at Well will get frustrated with their end results on the back end, because on the front end, they're not reading their manuals. All right. So if a rep is struggling with phoning, all right, it might either be a bad phone time or they're winging their phoning script, their phoning approach. All right. Reps might have, some reps might have trouble closing because they're winging their closing script, or they're not following the system or the program and not calling their manager in the middle. Okay. So this goes for everyone, even managers. And then also, whenever you are following your script and you're reading your manual, you sound more professional whenever you read from it rather than winging it. And just by default, customers and clients will take you more serious. Okay, so that's number one, which is reading the script. Number two, repeat or role play your script and your craft 3 times. All right, so if you have a certain like a set time, about 20 to 30 minutes, where you're just role playing, going through your script, you want to role play your phoning, your closing, your recommendations, also your stump speech or your goals. You want to go over that 3 times, and here's why. Hearing or seeing something 3 times, this is just going to create a certain level of registration within your mind that's going to help you remember things. All right, I like to use this analogy of whenever you're going out to eat with your family, or you're out on a date. You have a good meal, you have a good appetizer, have a few drinks, you got the steakums and the scrimps, you have a good meal. And then the server comes over and says, "Hey, do we have any room for dessert?" What's the usual answer everyone gives off? Most people would just say no right off the back and won't even think about it. And then they'll come back around a second time, like, "Hey, we sure?" They'll come back around with the ticket. "Hey, we sure we don't have any room for dessert?" You know what? No, I think I'm good. Then they'll come around a third time. "All right, folks, I brought a to-go box. Are you sure? You know what? Let me go ahead and get the chocolate brownie with the ice cream all over it." All right. So the fact that I had that in my head registered 3 times, I memorized it. Or some people might like to relate it to, let's talk about memorizing song lyrics. All right. So I think it was my old manager, one of the old pilot managers. His name was Casey Henry. Casey Henry used to ask us all the time, "How can you remember song lyrics and you can sing them all day and you don't get paid for it, but you can't remember a script that you're paid to remember?" And it really stuck and it really hit with me. All right. So number one, follow your manual. Number two, repeat and role play your script. All right. And you just want to treat it like, okay, every time I memorize this, I'm going to get a little bit better and a little bit confident before my next demo. It's all about raising confidence. And in order to gain confidence, you have to be prepared. All right. Number 3, the third key is show up to everything, even if you don't want to. Show up to everything, even if you don't want to. All right. So this comes down to just doing what's right, even when it's hard. All right. So whenever you do that, this gives you a strong sense of satisfaction that you won't want to let go of. All right. So how many of us are guilty of not showing up whenever we don't feel good? To be honest, it's all good. All right. Now, how many of us remember the feeling that we got whenever we weren't feeling good and we still showed up? You may not have felt your best. You may not have felt great, but I bet you felt a lot better once the event was over, because you showed up. And you would not have gotten that value. You wouldn't have gotten that feeling if you would not have showed up. Okay. So also being true to your values, this is going, if you're clear with your values and you stick true to your values, this is going to propel you to show up even more whenever times get harder or the tasks are harder. All right, because you'll be aware of the character that's going to be built within you. All right, so this is the point where you're going to find yourself acting yourself into feeling. All right, now the fourth tip, keep your emotions away from your results. Keep your emotions away from your results. All right, this is so important. Emotions, they can either make you stronger or they can make you weaker. It just depends which emotions you're giving a voice and which emotions you're giving the most power to. All right. So let me ask you this question. How many of us were getting a bit of getting a certain level of anxiety going into this push? Okay. All right. So me too. So here's one thing about that. The reason why you experience certain emotions longer than you experience other emotions is because you're giving that certain voice, you're giving that certain emotion a bigger voice than it should really have. Okay, so it's okay to be, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to get anxious sometimes, but how long are you going to let yourself be nervous to where it's holding you back from completing the tasks that need to be completed? This is and it's fundamental, but it's emotionally fundamental. And this is just something that we as human beings, we're not perfect at it just because we don't work at it. It's one of the beautiful things about Vector, by the way. We work on the mental and emotional experience. But, how often are you telling yourself, hey, there's no need for this. Just go through with it. Go through the demo. Ask for the homemaker. So what if they say no? Ask for the galley. So what if they say no? Ask for the essential, ask for the studio, ask for the trimmer, ask for the bag of coffee. Who cares if they say no? It's the person you become throughout that whole entire process and the value that you gain from that. All right. And the fifth and final key that I have for everyone today is remain disciplined and consistent through the process. Remain disciplined and remain consistent through the process. No one on this call is going to have a perfect push, a perfect SC1. A perfect SC2. No one here on this call is going to have a perfect push ever. Even if someone like Destiny does have a 50K push one day, which I pray it does happen for you, it's not going to be perfect. Okay. So with that being said, the law of consistency is that motivation will get you going, but discipline will keep you growing. All right. Now, how you grow in consistency is knowing your how, your why, and your what. I said that a little bit backwards. Knowing your why, your what, and then the how. And then once you are consistently mastering your fundamentals every single day, and guys, this is a skill. Selling Cutco, let's just be honest, selling Cutco is like a sport. This is not something that you can just do for 1 week or do for a month, take a week or two off, and then expect to come back on top. No, this is literally a sport. If you want to grow, if you want to get better, it is just like anything else. You have to remain consistent and you have to remain disciplined on it. And here's the thing, we don't work with children. There's a reason why we hold interviews for people only 18 and up. So that means everybody on this call is a grown adult. So whatever it is that you want, yes, it's up to your managers to coach you, to give you the certain tools and to give you the guidelines on how to get to where you want to be. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to remain consistent with your actions and with your habits. It's up to you to remain disciplined with your actions and your habits, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that can grow yourself, not your manager, not your mammy or your pappy. No one else can do that but you. All right, I had to end it with mammy and pappy. All right, that's all I have for everyone. Peace and blessings.
So good. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. And really, really appreciate that, guys. Any big takeaways from either my message or from Brandon's message that you want to put in the chat box, feel free. A lot of times it helps to reiterate and go through again and again. So phenomenal stuff, and thank you for your time. It's been an awesome meeting. We're on to the home stretch now, and we are in the How You Will Get It section. And we have Hannah Ferris talking about how to finish strong, how to never give up, our only 10K fast starter of the year in the Great Plains division and of the summer. And Hannah, man, you have come so far. I know that I'm not your coach and your direct manager, but every time I talk to you, you seem like you're more confident, more vibrant, more excited about what's ahead, what the future looks like. And Ayami just speaks very, very highly of you about the influence and the impact. If you didn't know, Hannah's now at 14 or 15,000 in sales. And also she's already started running interviews. So pretty exciting how quickly things can change. I know your initial goal was just to get outside your comfort zone, learn how to talk and communicate a little bit better. And now you're one of the top leaders in your organization and certainly one of the top candidates in the division. So we're excited to hear from you. You got all the time you need, but go ahead and take it away. And if you guys want to put your hands together, actually we'll give her some more spirit fingers for Miss Hannah Ferris. Let's hear it. It's all you.
Hi guys, thank you. I'm excited to talk to you guys today. I think this is a super important part of not only push, but just like everything in life, and that's just finishing strong. And so I really think that how you finish is the most important part, because like, of course, the work leading up to the very end is critical and it's super important. But your ending is one of the most important parts. And so I kind of want to share a little bit of a story with you guys and then some ways that you can finish strong. So my story is about my 10K fast start. So on the very last day of my fast start, I think I was about 3,000 away from 10K. And I was like, low-key kind of down about it. I went up to my mom that morning. I was like, Mom, I'm so far away from my goal. I worked so hard for it and I'm not there. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do 3K in a whole day. Like I haven't done that at all. That's impossible. And she told me, she's like, Hannah, well, you made it this far and you've worked really, really hard for it. And so if you just take today and work your absolute hardest, even if you don't hit 10K, then I'm going to be proud of you and you're going to be proud of yourself because you know that you gave it your all. And I was like, okay, fine, because my mom's normally right. So I listened to her and I did all my scheduled demos for the day with just a positive attitude of, I'm going to do this as best as I can and whatever happens, happens. And I ended up making like a pretty big sales, like over 1K. And even though my last demo of the day canceled on me, that was okay. And then that evening, I can't remember exactly how far away I was, but I think I was around 1K, maybe a little bit more away from 10K. And so I hopped on Zoom with my manager, Ayame, she's awesome. And so we did some 11th hour calling. And to be honest with you guys, I really didn't know how well that was gonna go. I was like, it's been only 10 days that I've been doing this job. I have not a huge list of people that I've talked to. And I don't think that they're going to buy from me again since they just did like the other day. But I sent out a bunch of messages and a lot of people either didn't respond or they just said, well, good luck, but I don't want anything. But that's okay. But some of them did end up buying things. And so that 11th hour call list is so much fun to do because you get to just reshare your goals with all the people that you've made relationships with. And so you get to let them know how you're doing. And so there were people that I got to reshare that goal with at the very beginning. There were some of my first demos and I wasn't even at like 1K. And then, I was texting them like, I'm so close to 10K and it's so fun for me to share that. And I think it's really fun for them to hear that. So just resharing your goals with your customers is so important. But yeah, some definitely ended up putting in last minute orders from like an ice cream scoop to a master carving set. I also reshared my goals with my parents, and they bought some more items to help me get even closer. I also bought a few items from myself. There's no shame in that. I had a block to buy for all my new knives and some table knives, so no shame at all. But it was at 11:30, I think. It was like almost the very, very end, and I hit 10K. And it was such a weird feeling. And I just remember like going to bed that night and thinking of that morning. And I'm like, this morning, like I was like ready to give up. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to hit it. I might as well just stop now while, you know, I'm at a decent number. I don't want to let myself down. And if I hadn't listened to the advice like of my mom and the encouragement of my manager, I don't know what I would have done. I definitely wouldn't have hit 10K. And can you like for real, like thinking about that, if you get so like to the very end and you think to yourself, I didn't do as good as I could have, that's not a very good feeling. And I've definitely been in that situation before where I reflect on the past and I'm like, I didn't give it my all and I could have done so much more. And I think that allows you to kind of fill your life with regret. And nobody wants that. That's not fun. And so, you know, even if you don't hit a goal, even if I hadn't hit 10K, or, you know, like for push or for whatever your next goal is going to be, even if you don't hit it in the day that you think you're going to hit it, it's the actions that you put in that really, it's going to determine the outcome. And so I think it really is actions over results. And to me, if you put in the actions to get to a certain goal, like you've won already. You've hit your goal to me. And I think it's just the work that you put in that is so important. And so, yeah, there were definitely days where I felt like lost. I really questioned if I even wanted to be doing this job. And that was in my first 10 days. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. But let me tell you guys, a wise woman named Ayame once told me, if you're feeling down or defeated, go back to your why. And Brandon Cobb, he talked about this a second ago, but your why and your how are so, so important. So I really encourage you guys to like get a piece of paper or a journal and just like write these down for yourself, because it's going to be different for everybody. But why is this goal important for you? Why do you want to push yourself? Why are you really here? Think through that and then ask yourself, how are you going to get to where you want to be? And so ask yourself that, talk with your manager. That's what they're there for. They're going to help you push yourself and set up that plan. So for me, my why was proving to myself and to others that I could be successful. So I really wanted to prove that I could find a job that I could really succeed at and be happy at the same time, because my dad thought I was a crazy person selling knives. And so I wanted to prove that this was real and that I could do a good job. And so that was my why. And then my how had a few factors. So I met with Ayame for a lot of PCs, called her every morning, before, during, and after every demo. If you're not doing that, y'all, start doing that. It's so important. And I just really expressed to her what my goals were, so that way she could help me make a plan. And, you know, we broke all the numbers down into how many demos I needed, how many calls I needed to make. And I committed myself to that process to finish the steps. And if you're not committed to it, then it's so easy for you to be like, oh, like it's fine, like just brush off whenever you kind of slack off a little bit. But just commit yourself and say, I'm going to hold myself to this standard. Talk with your manager, say, hey, hold me to this standard, and they're going to encourage you. And you might get a little butthurt at first if they're like, hey, you're kind of slacking off in this department. But then you just need to listen to that with an open mind, because mindset is everything. If you get super upset about everything, you might want to work on that a little bit, but just taking that information for you, taking that criticism and always pushing yourself to be the best, that's how you're going to finish strong. That's how you're going to finish push strong. Like all the future pushes, for those of you who are in your fast start, that's how you're going to finish strong. Literally anything in life. It's your mindset and your commitment to the process that's really going to show that you are a champion. We build champions here. I believe every one of you are champions. And I believe that everybody has the capability of going through the process and really finishing great and really accomplishing your goals. So I hope that made sense. That's all that I have. So
I love it. Let's give her some round of applause. Great stuff. Thank you so much. And some really good little value nuggets that were in there. Again, a lot of you are probably hearing the repetition. You're like, dude, I've heard what, why, how like 15 different ways now. Good. Then hopefully it sinks in that it matters, right? So again, really getting clear with that. I think clarity is power. And then just getting back to the fact that, ultimately this is really a competition about the effort, not the results. And for you, it was proving to yourself that you weren't going to give up. You weren't going to back down. You weren't going to give in to your emotions. You were going to commit to the entire process, all of the days, and just like kind of leave it up to chance, right? Like, hey, I'm not going to have any regrets. And if I don't hit it, I don't hit it, but at least I could have pride in how I went about it and how I ended. So really, really good stuff there. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I know you had some family time, so thanks for taking time out of your day to come and join us. We've got our wrap-up speaker, Mr. Carlton Thompson, the Savage #1 beast mode. This guy. I don't know if anybody has more energy than this guy, and different hairstyles every time I see him, but I've never had a bad time hanging out with Carlton. I'll tell you one of my favorite push stories is early on. Carlton, growing up in the business before he is Court of Honor and Hall of Fame and all these things, I remember he came out in my office of the door, another room, just like on fire. And he's like, boom, yelling. And I was like, what just happened, bro? I was like, is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, man, I just booked my first demo. And I was like, and you're that excited? I was like, dude, you're at hundreds of thousands in sales. And he's like, nah, man, you don't understand. That was my like 94th phone call to book it. Right? And it was after that moment that he went back in, kept making calls, and he booked like 5 more demos in the next 10 calls or something. But I never will forget the energy and the effort and just the excitement that he had because he had to earn that one. Does that make sense? And I feel like, you know what? Regardless of where you hit your goal or not, earn it. Earn that badge of honor in this push period, knowing that you're a champion, knowing that you're an alliance member, knowing that you showed up the whole time, you left it all out in the field, and you can't look back and have any regrets. And if anybody can teach us that, it is Mr. Carlton. We never know what we're going to get from Carlton when he shows up to these meetings, but we are fired up to hear from you, sir. And you got all the time you need as you wrap up our 6 and 10K Alliance for SC2 2021. The floor is yours, sir.
See money.
We're not going to let you talk yet. We're going to all unmute ourselves. And we're going to say, Carlton is the man on 3. Here we go. Ready? Unmute yourself on 3. 1, 2, 3. Carlton is the man.
Yeah. I really appreciate the love, y'all. Let's get it. 10 years, man. 10 years. Somber. It's a somber thing, SC2. It's such a cool thing, man. I am honored. Thank you guys. Appreciate the energy and the love. Let's get right into it. The ultimate challenge of selling Cutco. You've arrived. Welcome. SC2. Right now, this is the time for you to develop your skills. This is the time that is truly remarkable in Cutco. There's a couple things that you can really gain from this that is ultimately a benefit to you. Number one would be the money that you can make over the next couple weeks. The second thing is the leads generated. And really the camaraderie that exists within SC2 is unmatched. The thing about SC2 really though, is really what you're doing for yourself, for your family, who you represent. And I love that I get to talk right after Hannah's talk, because it really just piggybacks right off of exactly what she's saying in a really good, smooth way. I love what she was saying about giving it your best. And, you know, I did not have my mom and dad talking to me whenever I was brand new in Cutco about, yo, go after it. It was more just trying to figure out whether or not people wanted me to do this in the first place. But right now, this is your at bat. I mean, you are in the batter's box right now. SC2 is here. And there's something about SC2 where words don't even describe the type of things that you go through when it comes to this push period. But I can tell you, in true old school fashion, SC2 is where the magic happens. This is where it all goes down, baby. This is it. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be great sometimes. It's gonna be more hard than great the entire time. If you're not angry, crying, upset, or any one of those things, if you're not ready to throw in the towel at some point, you're just not doing it right. It's just difficult because you're giving it everything that you've got. I want to talk about some of the skills here, because I've been listening to so much investing stuff here recently, and it's just so interesting to hear how trading, when you think about the idea of money trading hands or something being sold and bought from different people, there's just so many correlations. And I think about what Hannah said too. And what's interesting is that whenever you think about the next opportunity or the next demo, it really is at random. You don't know what's going to happen, but there are those things that you can control, right? And that's the thing. That's the same thing within like trading, right? Or just anytime that you're buying or selling, or it's the way markets work. It's the same thing here. You're developing right now. What you're doing in the marketing world is developing skills that are equivalent to things like resilience, relentlessness, grit, self-motivation, and really ultimately your belief in yourself. And what's the price on that? I mean, what price can we really put on that? You want to talk about SC2 changing your life? Yo, you're going to change your life. But are you going to allow these circumstances, these things and programs that we put into place to allow you to be put in a place where you can be better in the future, where you're going to be set up and have that catalyst? So what is the thing I'm going to implore you to do here? It's to learn as much as you can. You are the product. You are the reason. You're the catalyst. You are the fire. You're the kindling, and you are the bonfire. You're all of that right now. And the thing I want you to know right now is that people love you. People are going to buy from you, and you sell a whole lot. And there's a reason why you're on this call. There's not a lot of people in your shoes who've gotten this far. People leave interviews. People leave training. People don't even show up to the first demo. And some people, when they show up to their demo, you're just so much more competent. I'm telling you right now. You need to think about that before every demo, is who you are as a representative and the value proposition you bring to every person. Everything that we do in Cutco, in my opinion, really is a mirror. The whole business works as a complete and total reflection on what it is that you're doing in your life that shows you things about yourself. It uncovers the good, the bad, the ugly, the otherwise. I mean, everything that is to do with life does get reflected in some way with sales. And I get it. You know, some people ain't built for this, but I promise you, because you showed up to SC2, this will do things for you in the future. No question. It's just about showing up. The big thing about that mirror, though, is just acknowledge it and keep in mind what you're actually doing, what you're actually thinking about, because that is truly what happens whenever you have your push period. Whatever you're thinking about most of the time is probably what's going to happen. So it's all about whatever's going to happen when adversity hits. And that's why I like to talk about your teeth getting kicked in. I like to talk about having to run through brick walls and just absolutely pounding through them, because it's so arduous, treacherous. It's the dirt. I mean, you talk about putting yourself in an entry-level sales position where you are cold calling, where everyone thinks these days you need to sell on social media to do something, whenever you're picking up Mrs. PHONE and absolutely putting your foot through this thing. That's what SC2 is. You have to absolutely throw this thing against the wall. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you have to put your head down and absolutely bust through sheetrock. That's what this is. It is like sitting in a corner and blitzing the phone. You want to know what SC2 is? That's what this is. And if you think it's anything else, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, and we can sit here and talk about numbers and this and that. Yo, it's about throttling the phone. That's what this is. You need to absolutely, completely, and totally make the phone your B word. That's just all there is to it. I got to that a little too early, but along the lines of thinking, here's what I want you to know. I just want to speak to this because it's kind of like what Nick said. You don't know what we're going to get, right? But this is what you're going to get from me. 10K pushes. 10K pushes. Why are y'all really here? It's probably because you want to sell 10, at least. You're new. I've been new. I know what it's like coming to SC2. There's all this pressure to sell 10. Everyone wants to sell 10. It took me like I think it took me 5 years to have my first 10K push or something like that. It was nutty. It took a minute. What got me there was someone that really made me believe 15 was possible. If you right now are in this meeting and you're thinking about 10, I want you to be laser focused on 15 and really work on your belief around that. Whatever goal you had around 10, I would highly advise you to scrap that. Chalk it, scrap it. Yo, you gotta get your mind wrapped around 15. And I do believe this is a big part of knocking 10 out, especially the first time. But that being said, I'll wrap with a couple thoughts about just right now. Right now is the time to put your foot on the pedal. It is go time now. From the time you got hired to right now was all preparation for right now. Okay. SC2 could be the reason things are totally different for you. Totally different. When I tell you the money people make from SC2 does different things for them, I am not joking. You're in a sales organization that is so against the grain as far as what's happening on the planet that you can do things that are just astronomically different for what the different type of opportunities it brings you. So just keep that in mind. Lots of calls, lots of calls, lots of calls, lots, hundreds, multiple 100,000. You need to be on a different wavelength right now. Whatever scheduled phone jams you have, I thought about saying, yo, schedule a phone jam now. You got a phone jam scheduled, I'm sure. You have to, you get to show up. You get to show up now to phone jams. This is the time. It's just for SC2, if you with me, you with me. If you ain't, you ain't, man. That's just all there is to it. But right now, the non-negotiables is just absolute. I know I sound like a broken record, but right now it's about putting your foot through the phone. It's a fire sale right now. And if you're thinking about running, it's sprint time, baby. Let's go. It is go time. We are sprinting through walls. Sacrifices, time and energy, commitment, resources are all going to be a part of the deal on this, okay? It's now time to put it on the line. Why? Well, it's 2 weeks, that's why. It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, go all in. This is time. Like there's no more, like we sit here and talk about what we need. We're done talking. It's go fast now. I know this is aggressive, But right now, this is your time to work on your craft. Boots on the ground marketing, guerrilla tactics. I'm talking Cutco Vector right now is the vehicle for you to move forward in whatever it is you want to do, whether it's here or whether it ain't. So whatever it is that you want, think about it. Think about it a lot. And the thing is here, it really is a unique place to be. Use this as a tool. Use SC2 as a tool. Use Vector and Cutco as the vehicle to help you and to stay here as long as you possibly can. Because I promise you, if you do, whether or not you're moving on or you're staying, I promise you, if you stay here as long as you can, I am assured in the fact that you can and will be surprised at what will come with your experience. That's all I got, man. I appreciate you guys so much, man. You guys have a great SC2. I'm sure I'll be talking to y'all again, man, but let's get it. Let's go. It's time. It's time.
Let's go. Take yourself off mute. 10K. 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 10K.
10K.
All right.
No, it's 15, guys. What did you just say? 15, 15, 15.
15.
Yeah,
15.
Go big or go
All right, hey, let me
home.
call you back in just a second. Your phone's breaking up, and maybe if I just move in a different spot, I can catch you better.
Okay. Well, I am fired up about this and very excited about your message. Thank you so much, Carlton, for bringing the fire and wrapping things up only 2 minutes afterwards. Those of you watching the recording, don't forget to send your notes to your manager. Those of you who are here right now, I'm going to stop the recording. We'll wrap.